Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, hailing from Kokona, Wisconsin, riding a CST Tires SSI decals traveling back Yamaha YFC 450R, four-time ATV Motocross National Champion, number 25, Cody Jansen.
What's up, everybody?
We're back.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, episode 106 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, available and in stock for purchase today at shop.csttires.com. I'm your host, Cody Jansen, saying hello to our more than 103,000 monthly Digging Deep listeners in all 101 countries in which you are listening, and this is our 2023 Daytona ATV Supercross and ATV Motocross season preview show. Anything that there is to talk about in current ATV motocross racing will be discussed in the episode ahead. We'll kick things off by going over the storylines we're watching going into the event before Thomas Brown joins the show for a huge and exciting announcement. You won't want to miss that, I can promise you that. And after we finish with Thomas, we'll dive headfirst into the racing action, discussing every single rider who will line up next week in the process right here on the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. We have so much to get into, so with that, let's quickly shout out all of our incredible partners. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha thanks to Blue Crew, thanks to SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Binky's Forever ATC Museum. A special shout out to Impact Solutions and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Big news from Manscaped last month. You heard it here as they announced they were making the jump into the beard products game. And as you know, we're responsible for speaking this into existence. Introducing the Beard Hedger Pro Kit from Manscaped. The Beard Hedger Pro Kit is the ultimate beard care bundle, a premium beard sculpting machine. The Beard Hedger allows dudes like you and I to style our beards to exactly our liking with a zoom wheel featuring 20 different built-in lengths. This Pro Kit also includes beard shampoo, conditioner, oil, balm, and free gifts of a beard brush, comb, and scissors. Now you're speaking my language, Manscaped. Get 20% off with free shipping by using code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. So rad that Manscaped is continuing to invest in ATV racing as a longtime partner of ours at Digging Deep. Help us keep them in the fold and involved in ATV racing by using our Digging Deep 20 code so they know you enjoy digging deep and what we're all about here. Support all the great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, you know what to do. Click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. The 2023 season is freaking here, but we both know you still need parts and gear. No matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. But before you buy, simply click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website. By using our specific link, we get a percentage of what you buy on the back end, enabling you to help us out while purchasing the parts you need anyway. And did you know you can buy OEM parts from Rocky Mountain ATVMC as well? Yep, shipped conveniently right to your door. So click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner at diggingdeepatvmx.com to help us out while satisfying all your gear and parts needs. No new donors to shout out this week, but if you are interested in donating and hearing your name on the show, you can find the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee donation links on our website. Major thanks to all who have donated, and if you can't donate but you still want to help us out, you can leave us a rating or a review on iTunes or Spotify. That helps us out a bunch. If nothing else, those 5-star reviews shows our partners that you really enjoy what we're all about here. And one last reminder, the days are clicking away, time is running out. While you listen to this one, grab your phone, head over to atvfantasy.com and sign up for the new and exciting season of Digging Deep ATV Fantasy. It's a one-time sign-up fee. You get a season pass for the whole season. You can build a new team every week, selecting your favorite riders to make up your team, competing against my Digging Deep crew, pro riders, industry insiders, your friends, hundreds of other ATV racing fans and enthusiasts, and it is so much fun. Not only is it fun, we'll award weekly and season-ending prizes, a bunch of really cool stuff from parts for your quad to goodies from the pro riders. There is literally no reason not to play this game. It has taken ATV motocross fandom to a whole new level. Anybody that's played it just freaking loves it. We adore it. So if you're interested in all, even if you're on the fence, we will make you a believer. It's so much fun. You'll hear a bunch about it in the episode ahead here, especially with Thomas Brown. It was a blast talking ATV Fantasy with him. So sign up today at atvfantasy.com and start building your 4-rider squad for Daytona. That's atvfantasy.com. Now it's showtime. The 30-second board is up. It's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep.
Let's go!
All right, guys, we're back here for yet another episode of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and I have to say, these Daytona season preview podcasts are some of my favorite of the entire year. Joining me is one of 2 guests tonight that are going to help us look ahead and preview the 9th annual Daytona ATV Supercross and the 2023 season to follow. Brought to you by our friends at Factory 43, the aluminum parts choice of both champions, Joel Hetrick and Bryson Neal. Visit factory43atv.com to check out their full line of Nerf bars, bumpers, and grab bars. Say hello to one of our very first guests ever back when we started the podcast in 2019. Now rejoining us after a bit of a hiatus, former AMA ATV Pro, multi-time Pro-Am winner, Mr. Tyler Hamrick. What's up, Hammy? This has been long overdue, man.
Hey, what's going on, man? Definitely been a long time coming. Missed talking some ATV moto, and I'm glad to be back.
Heck yeah, man. I'm stoked to have you back. You messaged me pretty frequently, right? About topics and conversations going on in the ATV racing world. And when you shot me a text the other day, I thought to myself, man, we got to capture this for the podcast. I think I told you as much at the time. Thought it would be a great way to kind of preview the season and everything that we know going into Daytona. And it's hard. It's hard. And I found this in recent years that it's difficult to find people that don't have alliances and allegiances that are going to just talk up their guys, right? You know, nothing against all the stuff we've done in the past. It's been great coverage. I'm very proud of it. But I thought, man, and I was racking my brain for weeks. I'm like, who can I get in here that we can really chop it up and be authentic? And when you started texting me these things, I felt like it was going to be the perfect opportunity for us. So we're going to empty the notebook here today on all the riders that are going to line up at Daytona. So really looking forward to that. But first, man, you've enjoyed some serious blessings since the last time that we had you on the show. You're a dad now. Seems like everything in your life is falling into place with you and Allison, right? So congrats on that, man. It's been some major growth in recent years.
Yes. A lot different than the last time you guys probably heard me. I'm not digging deep into the back of the fridge anymore. So yeah, having a daughter now, she's 16 months old. It's definitely changed my perspective on life as a whole, and it's pretty crazy, dude. Like, it's unexplainable, honestly. I would have never seen my life going like this, but I'm glad it is, for sure.
That's amazing, man. Well, we're proud of you, of course, and again, proud to have you here. The other thing that you touched on to me the other day is you texted me your reaction to the TC podcast. We'll touch on that here for a second because that went over so well. We did the video version on YouTube, which has been awesome. We put a bunch of photos in there for people to enjoy, kind of help tell the story as Tom told it. But what were your reactions to that? Tom was awesome. That's going to be something that I'm hoping, whether it's once a month, we could do these episodes with him once a week. He's been calling me every day with hour-long phone calls with motor stories. He's like, man, make some notes so you can remember to ask me about these things. But I'm hoping, my thought is maybe every month or every other month, we'll do a story podcast with Tom Carlson, which will be a lot of fun. But what did you think about that episode with Tom there?
I thought it was great. I honestly didn't know he had his hand in the ATV Motocross series that long, or as long as he had. And then a couple like the Henson and Yoshimura deal when they went to like the factory Suzuki. To me, I never knew anything about that. Him and Yoshimura, like, I always thought, like, you got Doug Gus, Dustin Wimmer, like they all ran Yosh. So you think like Yosh is like that product. You want that stuff to where, and I feel like if that maybe not had happened, like, we view TC racing as like totally different. Or I mean, at least like that's in my point of view, because I maybe didn't think he was like that popular of a engine builder. And like, after hearing some of his stories, it makes you kind of wonder like what went on behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think that you put it really well. Actually, somebody commented or wrote in just a couple days ago and said it was bittersweet, and reasoning for saying that is TC helped so many different riders. Tom did so much for so many people. You saw that in some of the posts and comments, shares following this episode, right? So they said if he would have sold his soul to Suzuki and Yoshimura, working underneath Yoshimura, because TC never would have been Yoshimura, right? Obviously, you can't compete with the big corporation that Yoshimura is. I think Tom's argument was that Tom wanted to just he didn't even want any of the recognition. He would have been cool just to work behind the scenes, tinkering on the engines and using his expertise there. It would be bittersweet to think of TC not being as we know it, because he might have sold his soul and not had the opportunity to work with all these littler guys, quote unquote, that he did over the years. So that part of the episode was the most notable part of the episode, right? My jaw hit the floor. I didn't know that was coming. I didn't know that was necessarily part of the story. I had a feeling that maybe something like that went on, but I didn't know exactly where that was going to go. I didn't know we were going to have that conversation when I sat down on Super Bowl Sunday with him to have that conversation. In the time since then, I've learned of some backlash at Hinson, and I don't love that. I love Tom. And I know that he was grateful to have an avenue to tell his story, a story that he had, kept inside for the last 20 years. And I get that there's two sides to every story, but I had to be able to give him the chance to tell his story in its entirety. That being said, I don't love the fact that, I had to be notified that Hinson was getting phone calls and messages saying that certain people out there, presumably obviously listeners of ours, said that they wouldn't support Hinson anymore or would no longer be a customer of Hinson clutch components. So that sat heavy with me in the days after hearing that, because on a personal level, Hinson's a long-time supporter of my own race program, and I would consider the Hinson family close friends of mine and my family for many years, decades. So that hurt me. So all I can speak on is the way that the Hinson family has treated me over the years. They've treated me like royalty, probably better than I ever deserved. And I just want to say to our listeners, in those circumstances, just maybe think before you act. Digging Deep exists because I want to make the sport 1% better, not 1% worse. And again, this was part of Tom's story. We wanted Tom to be able to tell his story, of course. But no matter what the circumstance, let's think before we act. Let's be respectful to everybody. And let's make sure everything we do makes the sport 1% better, not 1% worse. My goal is to leave this sport just a little bit, just 1% better than I found it when I first got into ATV racing. I'm hopeful that someday when I leave this earth, the sport is 1% better because of me and Digging Deep. So moving on from that, because that sat heavy with me for a couple days, I needed to address it. And I don't want that to be the overwhelming, overarching feeling from that episode, because that Tom Carlson episode is one of my favorite that we've ever done. And the response was amazing. And the YouTube video was amazing. And our listener response was amazing. And Tom is so happy with all the comments and messages. I've shared every one of them that I've got with him. I've screenshotted them and sent them via email. It's been amazing. And he's been so grateful. Daily phone calls, all these things. It's been awesome. But at least needed to touch on that. Pell, I want to kick things off here, starting with something new that we're going to do for the 2023 season with these race review and preview shows. And we're going to do a top 5 list. Anybody out there that listens to some of the sports shows, right? Lists are a big thing. So we're going to do our SSI Decals top 5 storylines heading into each race this season. And this first race, round 1 Daytona. So looking at our SSI Decals top 5 storylines heading into Daytona. My number 5, counting down to 1, storyline number 5 that I'm most looking forward to is which rookie is going to separate themselves early as the season kicks off here. We know that it's a whirlwind when you're a rookie starting the pro class, right? It's crazy. Not only are you kicking off a pro career that you've probably thought about, dreamed about for your whole life, you're also doing it in Daytona, which I think amps up. You can speak on that, Hammy, that the emotions, all that stuff, the anxiousness, it gets amped up at Daytona. So that's one of the storylines I'm looking forward to most is those rookies. Which one's going to separate themselves here to kick off the season?
Yeah, I definitely think, for speaking for myself, I'd rather kick off the season at like a true motocross track.
Mm-hmm.
Like me personally, I bet you the rest of the guys probably think the same because that's what they've been training all winter long for. And it's kind of just like, luck of the weather, and if you get a good hole shot, and if your bike stays together. So yeah, I bet you the nerves are crazy. I remember when I was going in, just even going to Pro-Am, I was like a mental wreck probably. Definitely a big step from the other classes I've ever raced. Because you look down the line, you see big Chad Wienen and Joel Hedrick, and that's just enough.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. It changes the game when you're lining up with some of the dudes that you've looked up to, again, your whole life, when you're a rookie like that. And this rookie class is really good. I know that the inclusion of Kevin Saar, right? Because officially he's a rookie in the AMA ATV Pro class, but he's a little different. He's an outlier. But when you look at these other 4 additions that we're going to get into here later in the show, Dane Molander, Aaron Salinas, Adam Ulrich, Andrew Shadow, you look at these names and I mean, they're good, competitive Pro-Am kids, Pro-Am guys, Pro-Am riders that are going to be great additions to this class. So we'll get into that. So that's my first storyline I'm starting with. Storyline I'm most looking forward to, number 4, is Bryce Ford. Bryce Ford came into last season. He was a little burned out. He admitted as much. I was hearing leading up to the season, people didn't even know if he was racing a week or two before the first race. People in his camp, that's how close of a call it was. So he came into last season burned out before eventually falling back in love with the sport more than ever. But with little prep last year and maybe some lackluster emotions, Bryce still nearly podiumed. It went right down to the wire. He made a mistake. He gave up that podium at Daytona in 2022. But I'm looking forward to kind of the headline of this headline would be, what does a motivated Bryce Ford look like? Because I feel like some of the hype that we've had in recent seasons has subsided. Now he's just one of the guys, what you're going to get from him, but he could put an exclamation point on the start of this season by getting a good hole shot at the opener. And when he gets a good hole shot, he's going to run up front, especially on a track like Daytona.
Yeah, definitely got to watch out for. He's got that raw speed, and definitely crazy from, I feel like the last time I was on the podcast, he was just making that jump, and I had all these I thought he was going to be like the next Joel Hedrick, the big splash, and that's not really been the case, but he's still like a badass dude. And for someone who seems to not, like you said, maybe not, was a little bit burnt out last year, to still go that fast, it's kind of unreal, to go that fast. And if you're saying he's not maybe totally 100% into it, it's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we know he ended the season being totally all in, finishing out the season well at Loretta's with a podium, went on to do the Quad Cross of Nations thing, freaking killed it for our team there. I know that put so much wind in his sails, right? Then he goes and wins the Huevos Pro Invitational. So he's all in. He's ready to go. I think that that's why he's one of my storylines. I think that we could see a jump with him. I mean, he's been awesome. He's been a constant podium threat. I think last year we saw him become less of a wild card, more of a steady guy. I know he had a DNF there at Pleasure Valley last year that didn't help him in the points, right? But all those guys battled something at some point. But I think it's going to be a big year for Bryce Ford. Moving on to my storyline, number 3, counting down here to number 1. Simply put, and you could argue that this one maybe belongs higher, but I feel like the 2 higher storylines here are new things. So coming in at number 3, simply put, who gets the early leg up on the other at the opening round when we're talking about Hedrick versus Wienen? The winner of 6 of the last 8 Daytona season openers has gone on to win the title. I think that just shows how important that a win at Daytona is. As much as these guys want to say it's only half points, it's kind of an outlier because it's not a real outdoor motocross track, all these things, the numbers don't lie. 6 of the last 8 Daytona winners have went on to win the title that year. And I feel like, as everybody always is watching in this Hedrick versus Wienen battle, but that's going to be fun to watch. We didn't see them battle last year. We didn't see them even see each other on the racetrack last year. This season's going to be a little different, and I would assume, and it's going to be fun to watch to see how this thing starts out.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's really got first on my list is the Joel and Chad battle. That's always the first thing I look for, and I'm just hoping maybe this year they get a clean, dry track and just get some real good racing. I want to see. It'd be nice to see them come out 1 and 2 and just really duke it out. I mean, that's what everyone wants, but that'd be good to see. Then we could really get a good outlier who's got the leg up.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that Chad has been so good at this race over the years. Joel has struggled a little bit, but I think he's think he's kind of lost that mantra now. He went out. You could see him kind of take the monkey off his back last year. He was so stoked to win that race. So yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. It's Battle of the Titans there, as it always is at the front of the pack. Moving on now to my runner-up, my number 2 storyline that I'm most excited for. Brandon Hogue got a new team. Does Brandon Hogue exercise his Daytona demons from a season ago? It's going to be must see. It's going to be so similar to last year, right? He got on the new music team. We know that he had these big lofty goals, podiums, wins. He gets that whole shot. He leads the thing until his quad expires. I just have this gut feeling that we could see him do it all over again. I know it's a different quad. It's a Yamaha now. It's this new team he's riding for. But like I said, on a new team, does Brandon Hogue, kind of get his revenge on Daytona? That's something I'm very much honed in on and watching for. That's something that's very much on my radar.
Agreed. I got him as the X factor. I think another one, he could jump from team to team and he's just still that, like, he's that fast. Like, I think last year, definitely opened a lot of people's eyes in that first Daytona race. So hopefully he has a little bit more luck on his side for situations like that, and he can really show people what he's capable of.
Yeah, I think you could hear the quiet confidence in his voice, and he didn't want to put a ton of stock in the fact that, he's been around Joel, he's been at Deckers, he's been seeing all these other guys ride too. You don't want to put a ton of stock into seeing Joel every day and seeing that speed, but I think that that's a meaningful thing. I really do. It's not like he's going to show up at the first race and be shocked by the speed that Joel and Chad are going. That's not something that's going to shock Brandon at this point. And I feel like a handful of years, a few years into his pro career now, I mean, we heard as much on the show when he joined us. He's always an awesome guest, but he basically said, it's my time. You can tell that that's what he believes. And I don't doubt it. I don't think it's fully out of the realm of possibility that he jumps out there and to a good start at Daytona once again. And I would not be surprised at all if he were to win this thing this year. I really would not be surprised. Like you said, X factor is probably a perfect way to put it. We'll get into the fantasy stuff as we go on the show here, but that's why I put him in tier 1. I feel like if we had him in tier 2, everybody would pick him for their tier 2 pick. I mean, he's just maybe at least the way things ended last year and knowing how Daytona went. He finished 3rd in points last year, but also almost won Daytona. He would have been an easy pick. So that's why we needed to put him in the top tier in ATV fantasy. But yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if he went out and won Daytona. I really wouldn't. And it's all a confidence thing. A year ago, he wanted to be on a Honda. That's what he wanted. He got back on the Honda and he damn near won Daytona. Now coming into this season, he wanted to be on a Yamaha. He thought that was going to be an advantage for him. Now he's exactly where he wants to be. Man, it's hard to not put that number 1 because he's going to be a guy I'm very much watching at Daytona here. So yeah, then that only gives us one left, right? The biggest story of the off season. People who have been listening to the show know exactly what I'm going to say. My number 1 story that I'm most looking forward to. We all know about Kevin Saar signing with the Music Racing and Repair team and taking his talents here to the United States. The 5-time world champion is going to be somebody so many people. It's a polarizing topic, right? I said on the last show that I think some people had their doubts on how he was going to look, whatever. And then the video started coming out, the Rip It Up Films video, the video that Brett sent me and we posted. And it's like, man, he looks good. He looks like he's going to do just fine. It's really figuring out where he's going to fit in. And it's going to be really fun to watch. I think Kevin Saar is going to be somebody that everybody is kind of honed in on and seeing where he fits. I think it's going to be fun to watch how that all happens. So that's why I put him as my number 1 storyline heading into Daytona.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be interesting seeing him come over to the U.S. soil and race. I feel like Daytona won't be the best way to see what he's capable of. So sure. I think how he could come out and get a 2nd and he could come out and get 10th. I don't think we should put a whole lot of stock into Daytona just because of the track. But I'm definitely curious. I've been kind of paying a little bit more attention to him, and I seen that video of him motoing in the snow, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Me too.
I actually reached out to him. He sent me the whole video of the track, and it's pretty crazy that they're able to do that over there. Something would have been nice to do in Ohio.
Yeah, it looks like a blast. I spent a lot of time riding around in the snow, so that looked like a ton of fun. Okay, so that's going to do it. That's our SSI Decals top 5 storylines heading into Daytona. I'm looking forward to doing that all season long. That's something fun, just helps us kind of talk about the races and what we're most looking forward to at that upcoming race. So we have a ton coming up on the show here. We just got started, but let's get to our next segment with a rider that we all know very well. All right, guys, we're back here on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, and we are stoked to be joined by a special guest brought to you by Blenders Eyewear. Use discount code DiggingDeep20 for 20% off some of the raddest sunglasses on the market and even radder price at blenderseyewear.com. Say hello to 52-time pro ATV motocross podium finisher, undoubtedly one of the greats in the history of ATV motocross. Please welcome Mr. T. Brown, Thomas Brown, back to the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. Thomas, it's been a minute. Welcome back, buddy.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be a part of Digging Deep. You've been doing great stuff, man. I'm just honored to be a part of here and be on here and get to chat with you today.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate that. You were a supporter of ours from the very beginning, so we appreciate that a ton. But man, you're here to promote an event that you and Chad are have coming up here. We'll get into that here in a minute. First off, buddy, we got to get to some life update stuff. Give us a little bit of a life update because you're a soon-to-be father now. So congrats on that. And from afar, it looks like your second career now. Your new career is going well as well. So fill us in a little bit.
Yeah, man, expecting a boy here coming June, so me and Brandy couldn't be happier. It's been everything's gone pretty smooth since we've left racing. It's my racing career was great, and then I was like, man, I'm probably going to struggle in the second half, and man, it's gone just amazing. I finished Fire Academy right out, the year after leaving racing, went to school, went to Fire Academy, and got fortunate enough to hire on with Tampa Fire, which was my first choice, and
wow,
just completed my rookie year, so I'm now off probation and a full-time firefighter, and man, just couldn't be happier.
Nice. Well, congrats on that, man. It's one of those things. I think we talk about it all the time, right? Everything happens for a reason. You had such an awesome career. I mean, to think about 52 times you were on the podium. I mean, that's just amazing to think about all the success there. And then for all the timing to add up, right? Because, this is a conversation I think you and I probably had when we were chatting kind of similar, around that time to the end of your career there, your racing career. But, it's a whole new chapter. It's a whole new experience. You probably didn't know what to expect, but for everything to fit so seamlessly and to have everything kind of coming together so well for you, man, we couldn't be happier. That's just got to be the best feeling in the world.
Man, it really is. I appreciate it. It's life's great. It's totally different. It's less stressful in a lot of ways. But man, it's a total different new challenges. It's awesome. And with the fire career, it's like I'm going to work a 9 to 5. I go work one day and I have 2 days off, and leaves me time for a lot of extra stuff to fill that time with. And so I've been starting to try to get back involved with the sport a little bit more, because honestly, when I stepped away, I don't know if it was, I really don't know why, but I really stepped out of it, a good bit. Like I followed it from a distance. I kept up with it like through Michael Allred and helping him out at the races. And then, obviously with Chad, it was always him being, one of my best friends. I keep up, talk to him daily. So it was really good. Just how everything fell into each other. But man, I still love ATV racing. Chad did talk me into getting on a quad the other day, so I rode for the first time in 2 years, and he was pretty proud of that. I wasn't sure if I wanted to or not, but I'm gonna say he forced my hand.
Right. We'll get into that a little bit, but yes, I can totally understand stepping away a little bit, but then having it come full circle. I mean, ATV motocross is going to be a huge part of your life and a huge part of your story for forever. And I would assume with this second career of yours, being a firefighter and doing that whole song and dance, I have to imagine that there's some things that transfer over, the goal-based stuff, right? Having kind of a regiment, I would assume. And also like, that, I don't know, like adrenaline or whatever might be I don't know if that's the right word or not. Right. But some of that has to kind of fit between the two. It's kind of a trend for you and what you choose to do with your life, Thomas.
Oh, for sure, man. The fire life is exciting when that tone goes off and it's a fire call, man. We get pretty pumped up. Everybody gets excited.
Sure.
You get a little bit of them butterflies, kind of like you do on the line, like when you're in the engine headed to the fire you're like, all right, so what do we got? Because you don't know what's coming up next. Pretty similar to going to that first turn. You don't know if you're going to rip a start or you're going to be in 20th, and the
Right.
game really quick. Same as pulling up onto a fire scene. So it's pretty cool. I don't get to work as many fires as I'd like to. It's which is a good thing. You know, I mean, obviously fires are bad for the community, but for us, it's us getting to go do our jobs. Similar to that gate dropping, it was me getting to go do my job every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it is super. I think adrenaline would be right when those calls come in. It's you get pumped up quick,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty similar feeling, I have to say.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, to think that you don't have to go and find a 9-to-5 job or, you know, work on a rooftop somewhere or whatever. I mean, to have something that you're truly passionate about, I think that that's the biggest thing. And that's probably why everything in the rest of your life is fitting so well into place, right? Is that you found something that you're truly passionate about. And first it was ATV racing. You got to ride that roller coaster for a long time. Now to be doing this and still loving exactly what you're doing. I mean, that's what I think that everybody dreams of, whether it's, you know, being a librarian or being a professional athlete or being a firefighter or whatever it is, to have something that you truly love to do, right? I mean, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. Like even when I started the fire, I was like, oh, that sounds like a really cool job. Like that was it. It was either that was like, it really caught my eye, and then I had the opportunity to go work for my old man, and I really wanted to pursue this. And when I started it, it was just going to be a job. Seemed like a cool job. Got to be active, got to be part of the community, and got to have a little bit of that adrenaline. But now that I'm in it, man, I'm gonna call it like the brotherhood, like kind of similar to racing. It's like everybody kind of has each other back, even though we're fighting against each other. Everybody's on it with each other. Like we're all in the same trenches digging. And when you go to the fire side, it's really similar. We're all there. We're all there with one goal. And even at that point, I've got a lot more fire drive than when I started, or even what I thought I would. Like just the learning about it, learning how things go, and then 90% of our jobs actually medical is helping out that way. And I'm in medic school right now to become a paramedic, and awesome. That is big change, man. That's nothing to fire is all pretty simple. You put the wet stuff on the red stuff, and it kind of does its thing. And there's obviously more to it, but the medical side, man, I'm in school again, and I hated school, so I still hate it. But I'm learning a lot and being able to help the community, and I do want to become a good medic because you can really help people in that way too. So it's all good, and it's all a lot of drive, but it's all a tight niche community, really similar to ATV racing. The people at the fire station, or even if I meet a firefighter at a different county or a different state and I meet them, they're instantly like cool. Like you say, yeah, I'm a firefighter in Tampa, and they go, oh, I'm a firefighter here in New York or Wisconsin or wherever. And it's like right away a bond, and it's like they trust each other, similar to somebody like, oh, I race ATVs too. Awesome, man. Where you racing? Oh, I race this series, blah, blah, blah. And you instantly got like a little, I don't know, like I said, brotherhood.
It's respect, kind of, right? I mean, because I can't fully understand what your life is like, right? But another person working in your same role, another firefighter can. I'm sure there is that instant connection, that instant respect. And that's actually funny that you mentioned that, because I was gonna question you about that. That, you know, it seems to me, right, like 9 times out of 10, you know, there's seems like when you see a fire engine or whatever, it's just chasing you know, it's chasing an ambulance to an old folks home or whatever it is, right? But I was going to ask you how often is a real intense call? I mean, is it 1 out of 10? Is it 1 out of 20? What is it?
Man, it's weird because different days are different numbers. Tampa's inner city, so it's we are a very busy department as a whole.
Okay.
But so fire calls itself, like as far as getting a fire, is probably like only like 5% of our calls.
Sure.
If then some traffic accidents, which are pretty cool. My station's not on a big interstate, so I don't get any, or knock on wood, we don't get many nasty ones.
Yeah. And
then a lot's medical. I would say it's weird because some days you'll run like back to back, like big calls where you're like above my pay grade. Like I'm just doing what I'm told. And then other days it's, basic stuff where we're just helping people out, lift assist or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on the day. But you have those days where it's like, oh, today we did stuff. And the other days it's like, today was a lot of helping people out with minor stuff, which is still great, still helping the community. But it wasn't like, it wasn't trying to look the right word because it's all important because you're all helping each other out, but
Wasn't intense. Yeah, it wasn't
it
intense.
wasn't,
Basically.
yeah, intense. Like that's it. It was simple. I fell down. I need help up. Okay. Do you want to go to the hospital? Maybe, maybe not.
Mhm.
And you go on with your life. But it's the intensity on some of these is really extreme, and you'll have days where you'll have a few of them, and then other days you won't have any.
Sure. Well, it's awesome to hear, man. Like I said before, it's kind of one goal to the next, right? You know, first it was the racing thing, then it was getting into firefighter school and then becoming a firefighter and now doing the medical thing, man. We couldn't be more proud of you. Speaking on behalf of the ATV community, we are so proud that you're one of us, man. It's a true, you know, it's one of those things, right? I tell people all the time, you take what you learn, whether you race for a year or you race for 20, you take what you learn from ATV motocross, whether it's that drive, motivation, doing the right thing, helping people, right? I mean, you were a leader of the ATV community for a long, long time. And now you're just taking all of that stuff and translating it over to a next career. And I think that that's something that we preach about all the time. So I'm sure you could vouch for that, but man, we're so damn proud of you. It's awesome.
Man, I appreciate that. It's awesome to be part of this community. The ATV race community was a huge part of my life, as everybody knows, and it will never leave that part. So I thank you. I really appreciate that.
So let's get into that a little bit then. We got you in here today to talk about promoting this riding school that you and Chad Wienen are putting on, hosting at Gatorback down there on March 10th and 11th. That's the weekend before the Gatorback ATV National. No better way to get ready for that race, right, than riding the track the weekend before. So tell me a little bit what you guys got planned.
So yeah, it's big news, and we got a couple breaking news here. We got some good stuff coming, but yeah, so the 10th and 11th are going to be one-on-one, or not one-on-one, but coaching. Like me and Chad are gonna be on the track. We're gonna break the track down each day. Some stuff will get doubled up day to day. You don't have to buy both days. You can buy one day at a time, but we're gonna try to hit different stuff, and then the more important stuff will hit both days. You know, we'll go over starts both days, so double practice. More important stuff, you know, certain sections of the track we'll really focus on each day, and then we'll split the other days up to hitting some of the other stuff that maybe wouldn't be as crucial, but still a big part, and working on the whole track as a whole. So between the 2 days, we'll hit the entire track, break down each section of it, and then each day we'll hit the big points. We have just decided, me and Chad, that we are going to release a Sunday portion that you can get with us, and it's going to be really similar to what I did with T Brown Training, where it's going to be race simulation day. Okay. We're Sunday as strictly as if you were coming to race a race. We're going to do a practice in the morning, and then a mock cat and mouse moto. It's going to be limited spots, but we're going to do it just like it was a big thing, part of my program way before I did like the T Brown Training, where me and Chad would be practicing. I would start 20 seconds in front of Chad, 10 seconds, whatever the gap difference was, so that at the end of the moto we were on each other. And I believe that's the best way to really get race ready, is to do these race simulation motos where you put a gap into it and you put the slower guy a little out front, so he's trying to run away from you, and if you're the guy in the back, you're trying to catch. And we plan to have, you know, several of those throughout the day, where we're going to partner people up, or like 3 to 4 riders, and then do a race simulation. And I'll be running the majority of that, where we'll be really pushing on, like, okay, so taking the things you learned from the previous 2 days, and how much of that once you got in a race, did you lose and you forget, and point that out, and then point off like, okay, you got tired on lap 4, you see you here, or you didn't get warmed up until lap 2, and really start focusing on that. So where they'll get a couple times throughout the day to work on their stuff, and just put that final icing on the cake at the track they're going to race. So between the 2 days and then the third day on Sunday, doing the little bit of the race simulation, there'd be no better way. Being on the racetrack the week before at Gatorback, we haven't been there in a long time, so it should be a huge opportunity. I hope a lot of people, grab on, and me and Chad are excited to do it.
Yeah, for sure. So you said a lot there, but yes, I mean, what an awesome opportunity to think, any racer, whether you're a pro or you're, a beginner, by the end of the weekend on a national ATV national weekend, you always feel like you're all warmed up, you're ready to go. You're going to, turn your fastest laps at the end of the weekend. Well, think you're giving people the opportunity to, obviously you're helping them. You're going to make them even better than if they were just spinning laps. But at the end of the day, to spin all these laps and have the opportunity to do this on a race, a track track you're going to race the very next weekend. I mean, to come into that next weekend, which is the amateur season opener, remember, for most all the classes, to come into there all warmed up, knowing the track, everything fine-tuned. What an amazing opportunity for people, Thomas. So that'll be really cool. So we also, you hinted at it, we got some more breaking news. Do you want to take the reins here? Or you want me to?
It really don't matter if me or you take it. I'll go ahead and release a little bit. But Debbie Bartosik from Live to Ride dropped the news today. She is wanting to sponsor 2 riders to give away to the riding school, thanks to the Live to Ride Foundation, and support 2 riders to come hopefully improve themselves and be a safer rider. It's something that me and Chad both push. She's been a big part of a lot of riding schools throughout the years, always wanting to improve safety. So she wants to make sure that we focus on safety and making sure these riders know what they're doing out there. So in that aspect, she's going to sponsor 2 riders to the riding school. She's prepaid their spots, and we are going to let you, Cody, figure out how you want to divvy those out.
Okay. So yeah, like you said there, I mean, what a cool thing. Debbie's always doing amazing things at 88 Live to Ride, but this is the coolest part of this whole deal. I think, 88 Live to Ride sponsoring 2 riders to attend this school Friday or Saturday, right? Is how I assume, how I understand it, free of charge, which is a $450 value per rider, I believe, right? That's the value on that. And upon Chad's request and what you guys decided there, he reached out to me this morning. He wants to give them away on our show here. So this is what we're going to do for our listeners. We're going to have them sign up by emailing us at info@diggingdeepatvmx.com. We'll randomly select and announce 2 winners on Monday evening. So that's next Monday, a week from today, March 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's kind of right leading up to Daytona. And that'll give people enough time, right, to plan for their week ahead and give them a little time and everything like that. But man, what an awesome thing for Debbie to do that for you guys. It's an exciting thing. I mean, not everybody gets that opportunity, and this is going to give somebody an opportunity that may not get the opportunity to go to something like this if not for Debbie and 88 Live to Ride. So thanks to her. But Thomas, what a cool opportunity for some too, I guess, a couple of lucky Digging Deep ATVMX podcast listeners.
For sure. I got to give it up to Chad. He reached out to Gatorback, and they jumped on full board. They've made it very clear they want to make this track good for ATV racing. So props to the whole crew at Gatorback and Chad for reaching out to them and then helping put this together. Me and Chad, whenever the schedule got released, he's like, yeah, the Daytona is going to be happening. And then a week and a half later, we're doing that. I'm like, man, we need to do a riding school between there. And we're like, all right, what track in Florida? Okay. He goes, well, let's reach out to Gatorback. And Chad figured it out, reached out, and they came on board right away. They said it would be perfect, have us out there. And then we were stoked on that. We got to release it, and we kept trying to add stuff to it. We did the 2-day riding school, and then we figured out that we could add the Sunday feature. And within all this, and next thing we know, Debbie emails Chad and says, hey, I want to sponsor 2 riders. I want to, donate them. And she left it up to us. And, now we pawned it on to you, but we felt like that was the best way to get the real word out there. Like this Digging Deep podcast, man, like you said, from the beginning, I thought this was a great idea. I thought you were the perfect guy to run it. And man, you've taken it off with it. It's great to see and hear and get so much information out there. So the whole setup with this riding school has just kept getting better. And we just thought no better way for you to help spread the word about it a little bit. And then with spreading that word, we're getting to give back thanks to the Live to Ride.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the kind words towards us again, of course, but honored to be a part of it. Honored that we can kind of be a part of this thing and help get the word out there and help 2 lucky people probably have a weekend that they're never going to forget leading into the kickstart of another awesome ATV motocross season. So Thomas, I want to talk a little bit about what's something that you referenced already, doing a little riding recently. We saw you out there with Chad. He got you back on the moto track to spin some laps, right? So tell me what it felt like. How good did it feel to get back in the saddle? You said Chad was pumped. You didn't know how you felt. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, last time I rode a quad was south of the border, 2 years ago. It was over 2 years I rode a quad. And minus my 4x4, which has a cooler, and we go through. So it was, I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't know how quick it was going to come back. And Chad had been really pushing on me due to this riding school. He's like, yeah, if we're doing the riding school, you have to ride. And I'm like, no, I'll do it from the sidelines, man. I really feel like I have something to bring to it. I finally got to take a step back and look at racing at a different light rather than being on the gate on the side these last couple of years. And I really, some of the stuff I've learned or I think I've seen, I would love to apply to my program back in the day. There's just no way to do that. So I was like, I was him, and he goes, no, you got to be able to show it, man. Like, they're going to want to see you ride. I said, all right, I'll ride. I said, but the first time I ride, I can't be just at that riding school. Like, I sold everything. Like, I don't have to. He's like, no, we'll go to a track. So he came over here to Tampa MX, and he got me out there, and it was fun. He's like Brandy's like, hey, take it easy. Like, she came with me that day. She's like, don't go do nothing stupid. Chad's like, no, like, you should probably do a side lap. You've never done one of those in your life. So like, what, maybe this is the first time doing that, not jump everything lap one. And I'm like, we'll see. Okay. Yeah. I'm not gonna be stupid. And I legit went out there. I let everybody else in the quads go. And I was like, I'm just going to roll. I'm going to roll a couple laps. And I got to the first jump and it was like a little bitty double. Like, I'm telling you, small. So I jumped it. The next one was a little bitty big tabletop. I jumped it. And I got like 6 jumps in and I haven't rolled anything yet because they just kept slowly getting bigger. And I'm like, oh, I'm dialed in. And finally we got some of the bigger stuff out there. And I was like, all right, I laps to get everything down. But it was good. I definitely have lost some speed. And I'm not in the same shape. Like, I don't do a lot of cardio like I used to. I do a lot more lifting. And so I pumped up a little bit, which I never did in my entire career. So, but it was fun. It came to me pretty quick. I could really start feeling stuff. I felt back in the saddle, or I felt comfortable in it. I'm going to say pretty quick. Chad's clutch feels otherwise because the first whole practice after I got going, I kept pushing. Like, I just wanted to rip laps. And my cushion was slipping that clutch and not using full.
There you go.
I roasted that thing. I just let her slip the whole time. That way it sounded like I was going fast, but I was really going.
Oh my gosh.
I came back in and you could smell it. And he goes, before we went out the next time, he's like, dude, just take it easy on the clutch. I just put that one in there. And I'm like, all right. And when I finally got a little comfortable and just like let the bike do the work, and his setup's working good. So I can't complain about it. I just, I had to have that safety blanket for a little bit.
Yeah, well, I feel like so many people listening right now can relate to that probably early season for most people, right? They haven't rode it a few months, and over the winter time, their arms are tight. They're using the clutch and whatever. It's funny to hear somebody like you, one of the greats, talking about something that so many people can probably relate to. But it's pretty cool. It's awesome to hear you get back on the quad. I'm sure that love never goes away, right? But that was going to be my question. I didn't think you had any quads left. I assumed you were on Chad's, but yeah, it does make sense to spin a couple laps before the school, I would assume.
Oh yeah, for sure. No. Chad took everything. I had like the factory deal that day. I showed up to pick up the truck with my gear in the back. I got dressed. He already had pressures done and actually I had to fill it up with gas. So I had to do one thing.
Okay.
I got to go ride it, and then he took it back to Daytona, and I went back home. I washed my gear, and next morning I called him. I said, "What are you doing?" Washing bikes. And he was doing all the work. I was like, and he's like, well, what'd you think? And I'm like, I could get used to this. I'm not buying a quad right now, but if you want to keep doing this factory deal, maybe I'll jump on board a little bit more.
Yeah, there you go. Nothing is better than not having to wash that quad when you're done with it. There's nothing better than that. But Thomas, looking ahead to the school, so Chad was telling me earlier today, or I was telling Chad earlier today, returning to Gatorback seems kind of nostalgic for many of us that were around. Like you said, it's been a long time, 15, 16, 17 years ago when the series last went to Gatorback, of course. So you would have been racing, obviously, in 2006 when the series last went there. What do you remember about Gatorback? Chad said some things are similar, some things will be different, but what do you remember from back then?
So I remember it being super hard packed. I went there. I signed up to race. I believe I wrecked in practice and got hurt before the race. So I didn't even get to race it. But I remember it was 06. It would have been my rookie year on big bikes.
On a 450, yeah. Yep.
All 05 off and just rode local stuff. And then went 06, went back to nationals. And the track I remember being pretty cool. It was super hard packed, had some cool elevation, which is me thinking about living here in Florida. And then that track had some kind of elevation in it is weird. That's pretty. There is zero elevation. Like right. You get 100 across the state. So it was really cool. I remember it being a really cool track. I know the mini O's go there every year, and Chad said the track's even better now. I think they keep working on it. It's a really cool place. I wish I would have got to race there and have memories, but I do remember seeing the old videos, and that start's kind of like iconic there. I don't think it's even known for that, but that's what sticks out in my head is between that finish line jumping to flat and then the start coming right into the same straightaway, sweeping around. That's pretty cool. I believe it's still the same way from what I've seen in the Mini O's videos. So, but yeah, it's a good viewing track from what I remember too. Like on the sidelines, you can kind of see the whole track from the side. It kind of runs, like I said, there's elevation, so it kind of runs along the side this like slight hill.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that kind of way you remember it too?
It is. That's how I remember it. Like you said, the videos are iconic. And when I think back to that era of racing, and for so many of us, you and I aren't that far different in age necessarily. And, that era, like when we're that age, right, you hold all of those memories up on a pedestal. I feel like even as fans looking up to the pro racers of the time and whatever. And yeah, I think of Gatorback. I think of Danville, Virginia, Birch Creek. I think of Etchiconee. Like there's just some tracks that are just legendary, right? And to me, it's probably just because they were the tracks that were always on the schedule in that era, right? But Gatorback is very much one of those for me. It's one of those DVDs, that I used to wear out when I was a kid, watching Gatorback and watching those guys on that hard pack track. And I just think that it's cool. It's fitting for ATV motocross, the nationals, to go back to Gatorback. I think that's super cool because how many times have we pounded the table for, wanting the series to go to tracks that really want to have us? It sounds like that's exactly what Gatorback is. Not only do they have a connection to the past of the sport, our history of our sport, but also Chad said the exact same thing to me, that they're stoked that they want to make the track better and better and better for ATVs, make a great racing track for everybody. And it sounds like, especially with everybody living and staying in Florida in the off season, I mean, what a great place to kick off the amateur season opener there near Gainesville. I mean, what an awesome thing. So I didn't know what your memories were going to be from back in the day there. Maybe they could have been a little bit better, but either way, man, it's going to be really cool to go back to Gatorback.
Oh, for sure, man. It's like you said, it's iconic for track and sport, and I think it's awesome because I remember back in the day. I don't remember if we were going from Georgia to Gatorback or we went Gatorback to Etchiconee.
Okay.
Or was it 2 floor tracks? But either way, it was like a week, and everybody stayed in there. So it's kind of cool that Daytona's happening, and I'm hoping that a lot of the amateurs are going to come watch Daytona and then use that week and a half to stay and ride in Florida and train and get ready for the first race. So I feel like that's what a lot did back then, except for they did round one, struggled through it, and then stayed in Florida because that's what it was. We did Gatorback first. I don't know where we were headed second, but it was somewhere southeast coast, and man, that whole week was really cool for me because that was one of the few times. That was before I traveled all the time racing. So I'm hoping to get to see a lot of people just in the state of Florida training that time between. Hopefully they come watch Daytona, whether they're racing one of the classes that is racing, or if they're just coming to watch and then staying, training, and getting ready for Gatorback. Because like that was a huge part of my childhood there. It was, 16 years old, just got on big bikes, wrecked at Gatorback, but then I got to stay at Waldo, and like there was other pros around. So you got to see these pros like at local tracks riding, which unless you knew one of them from they were near your hometown, you never saw them.
Exactly.
And cool to see them during the week riding. So I'm hoping that it's going to turn out something similar to that, and people are going to get to experience that.
Exactly. I have the same exact memories of, living at Waldo for the off season, and, you see, Chad or you, Thomas, or one of those guys pull into the pits that day. It's like you're watching what they're, exactly what they're doing. I was just thinking about this yesterday, how, I would literally, when I was younger, looking up to pros, guys like you, I'd see you guys across the track, or we'd be on the gate. Well, you guys are on the racetrack, and I'm like, man, my heroes are right there. What an awesome and like authentic, raw, like emotion that is as a young kid, because I looked up, I say this to people from time to time, but I looked up to the ATV pros like they were NFL stars or NBA stars or the president, right? I mean, it didn't matter to me. Like ATV, pros were the cream of the crop to me. That was the pinnacle. So you're exactly right, to kind of mingle, to have all the ATV community in one area, pros mingling against amateurs, amongst amateurs. All that stuff is just a really cool thing to think about. And again, I often think like these memories that you're kind of remembering right now, and myself as well, there's younger kids making those memories right now with all their favorite pros and their favorite riders. So that's a fun thing to think about. We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. We used to speak of a CST takeover, but now 2022 is the year of CST supremacy. CST's Pulse MXR tires are the choice of Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Nick Janusa, meaning CST tire riders are in contention for Pro Class wins and a possible podium sweep every time they hit the racetrack. CST tires are also the official tire choice of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, but you already knew that. I, your host Cody Jansen, helped pioneer the CST takeover with Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears on my way to back-to-back national championships and a pro sport podium to cap off the 2021 season. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offer the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Did I mention they offer contingency payouts as well? Visit shop.CST Tires to join the CST takeover today or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, myself, and so many more believe and trust in CST Tires. Do you? You already know we're Team Blue Crew now more than ever here at the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. And whether it's 8-time and reigning ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, who with his next championship will become the winningest champion in ATV motocross history, or 7-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, who is now tied for second all-time in titles won, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFZ450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This continued and unprecedented success for the Yamaha YFZ450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undisputable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has resulted in an ever-growing Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Best yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and stronger than ever here in 2022, meaning Yamaha riders will once again cash in on payouts and prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them at Yamaha Outdoors on social media, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and oh yeah, 6-time world champion top fuel drag racer Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their wide range of championship winning chains. From the street to the track and everywhere in between, DID chains are designed to give you the optimal riding experience with great performance and increased chain life. Consistent to the core, pick up your box of reliability today. DID, what drives you?
We are proud to be partnered with Namura Technologies. Since 2001, Namura has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Namura's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, allows for tighter tolerances, and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Namura's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, industry-leading top-end repair kits, and recently added connecting rods, visit your local dealer or online at www.namura.com. Namura Technologies, your one-stop shop engine component supplier. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV Components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals and cylinders, shock and suspension parts, winches, clutch kits, valves, carb kits, bearing kits, and drive chain parts, Bronco is your hard parts source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world, visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com.
Thomas, before we get out of here, I'd love to chat about Daytona for a few minutes. You know Daytona very well, obviously. You nearly won the event in 2020. You came right down to the wire there. So how difficult is Daytona specifically trying to balance the emotions of a new season and a new opportunity and an off season worth of pent up energy, all while knowing that you have to be smart at that opening round of a championship, because, you know, that championship can't be won at the opener, but they always say it theoretically could be lost. So I feel like Daytona is a balancing act, especially for you guys that are up at the front racing for wins and podiums. It's a little bit of a calculated risks, right? You know, you're trying to win the thing or you're trying to put it on the box, but you also don't want to land yourself upside down. So I feel like that's got to be a balancing act, and you would know better than most what that's like.
For sure. It's definitely a balancing act. And luckily, Daytona doesn't determine your series, because I only finished on the box there a couple times throughout all the years I went. And yeah, in 2020, I was really close. And with that being said, it's one moto. It's one moto's points. It's only 25 points up for grabs.
That's right.
And everybody's coming in with all this energy, and everybody's ready to show what they got. But it's on a track that we're not racing the rest of the year. And it's tighter. It's real start dependent. And like I said, it's only 25 points. We get 50 points every other weekend we get 25 per moto. This is half the point you can max grab out of any other race. So it's only worth half the value of any other race. So with that being said, yeah, if you get hurt there, you risked more than you should have for half the points. So it's hard not to. You do want to go out there and show what you got. You want to set a good time. You want to set a precedence for where you are at and see where you stack up. But at the same time, it's a shorter moto. It's a tighter track, which makes it more start dependent. It's not the end all be all, but at the same time, it's Daytona. You want to go out there and show what you got. So you don't want to lay up. You just gotta manage that risk a little bit. So like I tell my guys whenever they came there, when I was still training guys and stuff, and try to remind myself too, is like, hey, this is like almost treat it like a warm up. Like, you want to see where you're at. You want to go good. You don't want to leave any points on the table, but don't take that extra risk. When we get to Gatorback in 2 weeks, that's when you want to let it rip. That's when you want to let it shine. And if you can come out of Daytona with a win, great. You're 3 points up. It's still 3 points on everybody else, and you got yourself a little points margin. But if you don't, it's not the end of it. And it's nothing to take away from Daytona, because Daytona itself is such a big stage. It's so cool. So it to me, it kind of equals out. Like, I'm going to give it everything I had every time I hit the track, as any of us do.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose in that first one, but at the same time, to walk, like, I always wanted one of them dang wakeboards.
Right. Yep.
And man, that was in 2020. I thought I had it too, but it's hard, because if you can walk away with Daytona win, you won Daytona. So it's, with me saying all the other stuff, is that it kind of goes out the window whenever you're out there. You want to go, but it's the biggest thing I can say is when everybody's out there, they're probably going for it. They're going for wins. Me and Joel got into it my last year, and they cost me a lot of points. And man, I was furious at Joel, because he risked a lot on both of us for a mere 2 points on a whole series ahead of us. And I was mad. Like, I was furious, and I hit him in the whole shot. And I'm sure he was furious with me then too. So in the heat race, and it's hard to go back. But at the same time, when I was out there, I was going for it, because I wanted to win. I wanted to walk away with it. The only thing I could have said whenever I was on the drive home is I was pissed. But at the same time, it was one moto. If I would have had a second moto there, and I would have came out and got a top 3 in it, and then I would average to a 4th or 5th, I would have only been down, not near as many points, or, I was sitting 9th in points. I would have been sitting, 4th or 5th in points if I would have had a second moto. So right. I guess the big thing is it's easier when you're on the way home to go, okay, I had a bad weekend. And it's really easy on the way home if you had a great weekend to point out the highlights.
Of course. Well, you wanted to get that win there, but it's pretty cool to have podiumed and stand in that winner circle at Daytona, right? I can't imagine what that's like. I mean, that setting is so cool. And like you said, it's half points, but at the same time, when you get in there and it's like a village and there's a stadium around you and the lights are on and it's freaking Daytona, these historic hallowed grounds, I think, like you said, I think your brain almost shuts off and it's like, man, I want to win. I want a podium. I want whatever the goal is. But there's just something special about Daytona, and a lot of these guys are going to be feeling those emotions next Tuesday. So Thomas, you are here promoting this riding school, right? So I helped you promote your deal. I'm going to have you help me promote mine. So we're going to put you on the spot here. We're going to assemble your Digging Deep ATV Fantasy squad for the opener right here live. I'm going to put you right on the spot here. So we're going to select your team for the opener. So your first pick of your 4-rider squad, your tier 1 rider, which is what, is a win contenders, right? Your three choices are Joel Hetrick, who's a 2-time winner, Chad Wienen, the winningest rider ever in Daytona ATV Supercross history, 5-time winner, and the near winner last year, Brandon Hogue, is your tier 1 selections. Who's going to be your first addition to your team?
Oh man, everybody knows where I'm going with this. It is I'd lose a friendship if I didn't say it, but I do believe I got to go with Chad. Man, he had a horrible Daytona last year.
He did.
I asked him. I saw videos, and I asked what he was doing out there when he's spinning around the corner. I'll give him more crap now than I did when I raced. So I think he'll bounce back this year, man. I think he's going for it. He looks great on the quad, so I'm gonna give him props. And I'm gonna go with him. Just not only just I think he's gonna pull something out. I think it's gonna be a great battle. Like all three of them. Hogue should have won it last year. And you can't count Joel out. So it's I think you got a great top tier there. But like I said, I'm gonna go for my boy Wienen.
Yeah, well, hard to pick against the guy that's won 5 times, and notoriously he comes out at that opener and just seems like he's grabbed another gear in the off season. And I think that's why Brandon belonged in there too. He damn near won the thing last year. I could see it's not out of the realm of of possibility to realistically see him win this thing again. He wants to come out. He said that on the show. He wants to come out and kind of right some wrongs there. So yeah, so that's a great pick to start your team there with Chad Wienen. Joining him, so your tier 2 rider, your podium threat, your options here are Bryce Ford, Nick Janusa, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Max Lindquist, Wesley Wolf. Who are you going to pick there in tier 2?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, tier 2 has been quiet.
It has,
as far as,
yes.
Social media. Everybody else, honestly, everybody's been a little quiet this year. I think Hogue might be the most social friendly, so it's kind of been roles reversed, but you haven't seen much from any of the guys. But tier 2, I'm like, man, who's been looking good? And oh man, that's a tough choice, because those guys, in my opinion, nothing against Hogue, but Chad and Joel, same when I was racing, is they had everybody covered a little bit. Mm-hmm. But Hogue is definitely a contender, and you could replace Hogue with any of those guys. You could right the wrong, but Hogue did step up last year. He got 30 points, and he proved himself. And like you said, at Daytona itself, he was ahead. So I think you're right with putting him up there.
For Daytona specifically, right? I mean, after that, we'll see what happens. But we couldn't have Hogue in tier 2 because every single person would pick him,
Yeah, no, for sure. And then I'm thinking start dependent. So I'm trying to think which one of those guys is going to get a good start. Who's been working? And then I'm like, okay, so who's been working? Who have I seen? And I haven't seen anything from any of them.
Well, Bryce, I feel like we've seen some stuff from Bryce, right? And it's funny that you said that, because I've been getting messages lately from people signing up for the game saying, hey man, like I feel like I'm not seeing a ton from these guys, though I feel like we have seen a good amount of videos from Bryce.
Yeah, I right there is that they seem to have changed their compound up a good bit. So, man, and then it seems like he's putting the work in.
Well, and he says that he's fired up, right? I mean, a year ago at this time, he didn't even know if he was going to race a week or two before the first race, and it was a slow burn, and he got back into it as the season went on. It seems like he's fired up. At least at the end of last season, he was fired up with the whole Team USA thing, something you know very well about, but it seemed like he was ripping and ready to go. So I think he's going to probably be a hot pick there. But, Nick Janusa's finished on the podium there in the past, Jeffrey a number of times, right? Max did last year. Wesley's done it. I feel like all these guys have basically finished on the podium at this race at one time or another.
Yeah, for sure. So right now in my head, I initially thought Max, and then I'm like, because I like Max, I know he's a hard worker, and I'm okay, but I don't know what his program's consisting of this year. I'm sure he's got his stuff together, but he's been super quiet. I haven't seen much from him. And then Bryce, like you said, we have seen some stuff from him, and then where I'm thinking big on Bryce is I know that Baldwin power. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's kind of my kicker right now, is I'm almost leaning towards Bryce, just because I know the places start dependent, and I might even go a little bit the same as if I'm not mistaken, he had a off year last year there. Like it didn't seem. I'm not sure if he finished on the box or not.
He didn't finish on the box because the box was Joel, Max, Jeffrey, but I think it was last year that Bryce blew it on the last lap. He was in third, I think. I think that's
we're moving around a lot.
yeah.
So it was so Max is up there. So then Jeffrey, and then Jeffrey, not last year, but prior years to that, he would come out like fastest qualifier and rip it. Man, I'll tell you what, is right off the rip, I thought Max, and I'm going to stick with that just because if I'm going on I think everybody said Bryce going to be a hot pick. He's fired up. He's going to come out hot. And I know that he's going to get a good start. So I want to go there. But my first instinct is I heard Max and something clicked. And then as soon as you said it, he got second last year and he was on the box. I'm like, you know what? Maybe that will really lay him in there. I know he's been in Texas, and I think he just got here to Florida. So my choices was Jeffrey, Bryce, or Max. Kind of limited down to them. Nothing against Wesley and Janusa because they're amazing.
Of course. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, somebody told me a while back on a test, as soon as you hear your first answer, you go, that's the answer, don't switch it.
You're
Skip
exactly
it and go
right.
to the next. And I thought Max, so I'm going to stick with that.
You're exactly right. I feel like so many people that play the game or play, motocross fantasy or whatever, Rocky Mountain fantasy, whatever it is, pulp fantasy. You got to stick with that gut. You got to stick with that gut pick, right? The more you think about it, the more that you screw it up. So I think that you're on something there, but okay. So your team so far is Chad Wienen and Max Lindquist, tier 3. Now this is often, your 6 to 10 guys, 7 to 10, 8 to 10, somewhere in there. So your selections here, your options here are Logan Stanfield, who's always seemingly at the top of this tier, Cody Ford, Zach Decker, who we know is going to come in all fired up with a bunch of laps under his belt, Michael Allred, your guy, and Kevin Saar, the guy that so many people are talking about. I think he's a guy that could be up in the mix. So again, your options: Stanfield, Cody Ford, Zach Decker, Michael Allred, or Kevin Saar. Who are we going to put there in tier 3?
That one's simple for me. It's all about start, and there's only one person that I would
right.
trust to start. It's Allred.
Right. Yeah, you're
that
right.
Start top 3 more often than anybody else that isn't named Chad or Joel.
Hey, from the outside too.
He's not scared. Like it almost, and actually half the starts, like that year I worked for him in his rookie year, he would have ripped more starts that year if he would have qualified better, because he's coming from the outside and he wrecked multiple times because he got pushed off the track. Otherwise he would have ripped even more starts. So it's dead simple. It's nothing to even do with speed. I'm not even thinking about speed. Is that I'm thinking hard to pass. In the last category, nobody stuck out in starts. Those guys were hit or miss all year on starts.
Yep.
This one, there's a clear start favorite, and it is Allred.
Hey,
hopefully the other worked on it, but he is the clear favorite to me just because of starts and being Daytona.
And he was so good last year before he got hurt, man. He blows my mind every year how much better he gets, right? He's made some massive steps each year. We saw his campaign got ended a little early last year with the crash that he took, back home practicing. But man, he's been consistent, not only with the starts, but running up inside the top 10. Like he's impressed me every year out and continued to impress me. So that's not a bad pick. I mean, yes, he's a great starter, but across the board, that's a really solid, safe pick. I mean, that's a safe pick. I always think with Michael, you always know what you're getting, right? He's going to do all the laps. He's going to ride consistent. He's not going to do anything too crazy, and he's going to get a good start on top of it. So he makes a perfect pick for ATV Fantasy.
Absolutely. I get on Mike sometimes because he's too consistent. I'm like, I want you to hang it out. And that the guy's got a heart of gold. He called me after he broke his back. He's like, I think I should go roll around this weekend. So maybe I said, stop, Mike. Just your back's broken. Stay home. Let's get healed up. Dude's heart of gold. And yeah, he's going to be consistent. Right, not only going to get a good start, he's going to run consistent laps, and he's going to hit his marks, and that's going to keep him up front out there. So I really believe is if he can get a decent qualifying spot and be somewhere where he can get a decent gate pick, or depending on how the start turns out, if how one-sided it is or not, he's good.
Yeah, agreed for sure. So the T Brown team is coming together now. Chad Wienen, Max Lindquist, now Michael Allred. So now we're going into tier 4, the last addition to your team. These are guys shooting for the top 10 oftentimes. So your options here are Vince Merman, Cesar Jimenez, Marshall Smith, Zach Harris, and then we got some of our rookies. So Dane Molander, Aaron Salinas, Adam Ulrich, and Andrew Shaddle. So again, Vince Merman, Cesar Jimenez, Marshall Smith, Zach Harris, Dane Molander, Aaron Salinas, Adam Ulrich, or Andrew Shaddle? Who are we going to pick there in tier 4?
Man, that's a mix up, but I got to go with the Texas boy, Aaron Salinas.
Yeah, good call.
Just simple. Just you got to go Texas there. So I haven't had any other Texas boys. I missed 2 of them in the other one, so I had to go 1.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's going to be fun having those rookies in there. I mean, there's guys there that obviously have some serious speed, right? When you're talking about those new additions to the class, but also it makes it interesting because, you know, these rookies aren't always the most consistent guys ever.
No.
That being said, I think that Aaron really is. I think if you're going to put money on a safe pick here, Aaron's the same guy that pops out to me too, that you know what you're going to get from him. I mean, it's always a whole new endeavor in the pro class and probably more nerves and all those things, finding your footing in there. But I think that you know what you're going to get from Aaron Salinas. So I think that that's a pretty safe pick. But again, it's always exciting to see these new kids jump up into this class. I mean, we're obviously going to see, I would think, as the season goes on here, we're going to see Aaron Salinas, or we're going to see Dane Molander and some of those guys jump up into tier 3, right? I mean, but right now, kicking things off, we got to see them do it before we can move them up a couple tiers. But that's going to be really fun to watch. I think some of the rookies are going to be the funnest guys to watch in this class, especially here at the beginning of the season, because man, you don't know necessarily where they're going to fit in. I think that we have an idea, but again, you put them all together in the pro class and a bunch of faster guys and whatever, man, it makes things fun to watch. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just look, you go rookies, look back just a few years ago with Bryce making his rookie debut.
Exactly.
4th place. Like he could easily be up there and not too far from the podium. Any of those guys could jump in there, and it doesn't matter. The pro class does not matter, or how am I going to say this is, you got to be a successful amateur, but when you get to the pro class, it changes everything. I mean, Chad is the perfect example of that, and he's one off, but he came in with nothing, and then a lot of the other guys are all past Pro-Am champions.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, at the same time, it just takes one to change that, and that lining up on that gate is a different mindset than any other point in your career.
Exactly.
Guys come in with the right mindset, and they just keep focusing and putting their head down. You just really don't know where they could end up.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes one good race to get that confidence.
No, you're so right. I think I remember back to the early days of this ATV Supercross thing at Daytona and just being scared to death that I was not going to qualify, Thomas. I was so scared, because we had some big classes back then. There was, 26, 27, 28 guys at one of those races. And thankfully it wasn't an issue. And you're actually part of one of probably my favorite Daytona memory because I got 3rd in my heat race and you must've got 2nd or 3rd. And I rolled to the gate behind you, and I'm like, man, it was name whoever it was would have been in front of me. It was like Hetrick, Natalie, you, Bird, and somebody else. I think Chad was in the LCQ, so he was behind me. But man, to roll to the gate behind you, man, it was like a dream come true. I'm like, man, I'm behind Thomas. I'm rolling into, I'm in Daytona. We got the stadium around me. So you're part of a special memory for me there. But man, that was a lot of fun. Your team, man, on paper looks pretty legit. The T Brown team of Wienen, Lindquist, Allred, and Salinas. I mean, I like the look of that. That might be the team to beat. Who knows?
Let's hope so. It's hopefully maybe some of my experience over the years maybe will somewhere. And it's it's weird choosing that because it was so long. I mean, some of those guys I didn't race, so
yeah.
Like choosing Aaron. Okay, that's me being a fan. That tier 2 and tier 1 group, those are the more experienced guys. Those are the guys I raced, and that's it's hard to choose. But I'll tell you one thing is stepping back from racing and being out of it. I look at things totally differently, and I feel like I'm very realist. As people ask, like when I'm on the job and stuff now, I was like, oh, well, why weren't you number 1? Well, no, I wasn't good enough. It was Chad and Joel were better than me, and there was no excuse, and it was hard for me to think of it when I was racing. But after I stepped away, I left everything on the table, and those guys were good with me, or better than me, and everybody else I was battling with. And man, it was all about hard work. But taking a step back now, I really get to look at it out from the outside perspective. Those guys were better than me. These guys were similar to me, but they all still have the opportunity to change that, and I hope they do, because I would love to see more guys up there battling with Chad and Joel. Props to those two alone, is they've changed the way ATV racing is, just speed wise in general. But I would love to see the class grow and get more competition up there with them. And I think the class is stacked right now. I think there's plenty of guys that can make some stabs up there.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think that you're hitting the nail on the head there. There's definitely some blind confidence that comes with any athlete, right? I mean, you obviously always think you can. You always think you're going to do it next weekend. I mean, that's just something that athletes tell themselves. It's part of your wiring. It's not even a conscious thing that you're trying to convince yourself. It's just part of your being as an athlete. That being said, Thomas, I hope that when you're telling people about, your professional career, I hope that you're telling people that, man, the two guys that were beating you were like the two of the greatest ever, right? I mean, that is part of the story, Thomas.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I leave it to myself. If they want to learn a little bit about it, it's cool. I'm proud of my career. Like, and that's it. It's really cool is to step back. I got to race a quad for 12 years professionally. My first career as an adult was racing a foiler, where I paid my own bills, made my own way, and made my own name for myself. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud to be a part of the ATV community. The small part of hopefully the history I am with my results and stuff, and hopefully I've left an impression on there. Is I'm very proud of that. And I wanted the whole time throughout my career, I know I wanted to be a part of it, and I wanted to help the sport grow. And hopefully I got to help that a little bit. And just with that being said, is I'm proud of the whole sport. I'm proud to be a part of it, and hopefully to continue to help it some.
Yeah, man, you should be proud. You should be proud. You put together an awesome career, and man, this has been so much fun. This has been an absolute blast. Talking to the listeners here, I hope that you'll join us in playing ATV Fantasy at atvfantasy.com. You can sign up today, start assembling your team, just like Thomas did here. But yeah, it really gets the juices flowing there. And like I said, this has been so fun, such a great conversation. I can't thank you enough for joining me to talk about all this stuff, talk about the school, Thomas, and everything else in between there. Obviously, two of our lucky listeners are going to get a chance to join you down there, courtesy of 88 Live to Ride, which is awesome. And then on behalf of us at Digging Deep, Thomas, again, we wishing you all the best with your job, Brandy and yourself becoming parents. We can't wish you enough great things with that, and everything else across the board, buddy. I can't thank you enough for joining us. And I don't know if are you going to be at either Daytona or Gatorback for the races? Are you going to be at either of those?
So I'm really bummed is I cannot be at Daytona because I got school that day.
Okay.
It'd be perfect. I was going to school, but I got a big test that week, and I just can't miss it.
Okay.
I'm not the smartest student, so me missing days is pretty tough. So I gotta be at school on Daytona, but I got somebody I was supposed to work as far as Gatorback, but I'll be there all weekend.
Nice.
Back race. So I do get to come be a part of that one. I'm bummed I'm not going to be at Daytona, but as far as the first amateur round and the first real round one, I will be there. So I'm super excited. We can do the school. And then along with that is if I'll be around all weekend at Gatorback. If anybody has a question, especially in the riders that enter the school, feel free to ask. And looking forward to being there and, being back at a race. It's been I didn't get to go to any last year. So excited to see everybody, ready to see some good racing. Are you making it to either of the first two, Cody?
I don't think so. We're really trying to make the Daytona for sure, right? I mean, that makes so much sense to be the opener. My wife had some work stuff come up that she wasn't going to be able to miss, so a little harder to justify a trip by myself, right? If we're going to spend the money to do it, but so I don't know that I'm going to be at either of those two. I said to Chad earlier today that I would love to be at Gatorback, just like I said to you earlier, with that nostalgic, kind of nature that comes along with that. So I will not miss. I'd like to think we're going to be at both of those next year, but for sure, I don't want to miss Gatorback. I mean, what a cool thing. I mean, to kind of an ode to our childhood, right? Like you talked about, it's just a special place. I think it will be for so many people our age. But Thomas, the reason why I asked is because, these conversations that we had when we first kind of started the podcast, it kind of aligned with the end of your career there. And we had such great conversation. I mean, this is so much fun. And the thing with you, Thomas, is you don't necessarily, I mean, it's hard for me to find people that are going to shoot me straight, that aren't, don't have an allegiance to somebody, right? Or that, they gotta talk about so-and-so because, that's who they work with or whatever. And that's not necessarily where you're at right now with your life and your career. So, following that Gatorback race, if you'd be willing to come on and chat about the races with us, man, that would be amazing if you'd be up for that.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to come on and shoot the crap with y'all and tell you my opinion. Like I said, it's you nailed it on the head. As I know I have any no more ties anywhere, and I'll tell you what I think. And even everybody's gonna say I probably have a allegiance to Chad, which I do, but I'm probably similar to when I was myself. I'm probably his hardest critic now.
Your toughest critic, yeah.
Yeah, I ain't gonna let him slide. he deserves. He should be winning as long as all those guys do. So don't take that the wrong way to anybody else. But I'm gonna give him, if he wants to win, he should win, and I'll give him crap with the rest of them. But yeah, I would love to be a part of it. Come on, and tell you my. And it would be the first time I've been to a race since I stopped racing where I wasn't working, because the other ones I was working for Mike, so I was in the pit boarding. And this time I told Chris asked me if I wanted to do it for Mike again, and I said no. I said, man, I want to come and enjoy the race. I said, if you need anything, I'll be there for you, because Chris Hunt was a huge part of my program for a long time. And
of course, yeah.
But as far as I want to come, I want to enjoy it. So hopefully I'll actually be watching from the stands with Chris and everybody else there, and give myself a good view of everything and watch the racing and see what action we have.
Yeah, man, let's plan on that. That'll be a lot of fun to talk about the racing after all the dust settles down there at Gatorback. But Thomas, thank you so much again for your time. Thanks for chatting about the event that you guys coming up and everything that you kind of did to get us involved, right? Talking about on our show, allowing us to announce these two lucky winners of this free ride, free training, courtesy of 88 Live to Ride. And again, pal, we're just wishing you all the best. And man, looking forward to talking to you in a couple of weeks after all the dust settles on this stuff.
Man, I'm looking forward to it too. I appreciate you having this platform. I got to break my retirement here with you, and now so it's been great. Man, you keep doing a great job. I look forward to talking to you, and man, awesome job, Cody. You keep it up, and hope to see everybody at Gatorback and everybody that is racing Daytona. Good luck.
You're the best, buddy. We appreciate it so much. That's Thomas Brown making his return to Digging Deep, brought to you by Blenders Eyewear and blenderseyewear.com. See you, buddy. Thanks so much.
See y'all.
All right, guys, back here with Tyler Hamrick on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, brought to you by Factory 43. Shout out to Thomas Brown for joining us there. Man, he's been so good on the show. It brought back good memories from a couple of years ago when we were covering the end of his career there, having him here. Shout out to Debbie Bartosik as well. 88 Live to Ride offering up those 2 free passes to the Wienen T. Brown Riding School at Gatorback next weekend. That's going to be super cool. Again, you can sign up by emailing us at info@diggingdeepatVMX.com today. And if you have any questions about the school and or the Sunday race training day, you can direct those emails to wienenmotorsportsrider@gmail.com. Hammy, give me your favorite memory or memory you have from racing Chad Wienen or Thomas Brown.
To be honest, racing Chad Wienen, I can't say I have a favorite memory because I was nowhere ever near him on the track. Maybe High Point 2015, I came out third in the whole shot, and that was as close as I've ever been to him and Joel in a race.
I was gonna say I whole shotted him once, I think. Yeah.
And then same with Thomas. I may have been in front of him a handful of times in the 3 years that I raced pro. But I would say I liked following those two the most. If I could latch on to anyone in the time qualifying when I was in the pro class, it was always those two because, Chad was going to go fast. He's going to be one of the top 2 fastest. And then Thomas, I just like the different lines and the way he kind of approached the track. And he was, I don't want to say easier to latch on to, but I could latch on to him a little easier for a couple corners, and felt comfortable riding behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled the whole shot on him once in 2011 at Malvern. And maybe led him for like 3/4 of a lap. So that may be my favorite memory on TV, and I got pictures to prove.
Nice. I like it. I would have thought, in what year did you finish 5th in a moto at Millville?
2015. And that was, I think something may have happened to Thomas on the last lap, because I don't know if he got 4th or he got 6th. All I know is he was
right around you. That's why.
But I did not see him the entire moto. I was just hanging on for dear life. I think I had Joe Bird and Vitale behind me. Okay. And I just remember looking back and I just seen Joe every time, and I was just like, I gotta stay so far away from this guy so he doesn't pump me. Yeah. And
good times.
But I never seen Thomas that whole moto, and I ended up getting 5th.
Got it. Well, let's start to shift our focus then back to Daytona. And as we have story time going on here, remind you of a little story that I'm certain I told a couple of years ago on the podcast. You probably know exactly where I'm going. The year was 2015. It was the first ever Daytona Supercross. John Natale was leading. I get out of his way a little bit, right? I get out of his way just a little bit to, I'm getting lapped, which, I mean, whatever. We were right around the top 10. So we were doing just fine. I was in 10th at the time. I give way to the leader as I'm supposed to. And lo and behold, old, my buddy Tyler Hamrick tucks in right behind him and takes the spot away from me, and was at the end of the race. Obviously there was like a lap left or something, and Hammy finishes 10th. I finished 11th. I was so mad, but yeah, Hammy, that I haven't forgot about that one yet.
Oh, neither have I, honestly. It's honestly, that's just like some Cooper Webb racecraft right there.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this yesterday when I knew I was coming on. I was going to say that the guys that are racing and who may be getting lapped in a battle, like, pay attention for that. Yeah, like if you are behind the guy and you're trying to get by him and you see him go wide, like, and that leader goes by you, pounce. There's no real rules on that. Whether it's dirty, it's really not even dirty.
It's a little, it's a little shady, but yeah, you're right. Nobody's going to penalize you for it. That's the truth.
And yeah, I don't know. What's crazy is in that moment, I never had thought about doing that before. But when Natalie passed me and I looked up and I seen you going way wide, I was like, oh yeah, this is my time. Yeah. So lappers, pay attention out there, because you could crack the top 10 from a situation like that.
Yeah. So I was a second year pro then, right? A second year full-time pro. And still at that time, especially because, and maybe it's different, not everybody looks up to those top pros as much as I did, but they were still, John Natale was my hero from a decade earlier. Right. So yeah, that was really tough. Like, I didn't want to get in anybody's way. I didn't want to, have me be a reason that the race got messed up. And then yeah, I think I learned my lesson there. Not that anybody ever got, unless you crashed, you didn't get lapped anywhere but Daytona, because the lap time is short, but yeah, I was not going to let that ever happen again. So I figured we had to touch on that. At least it's a fun story there. So something I want to do is mention each and every rider as we get set for Daytona here. Something we did last year, something I was super proud of. So I was thinking we can break down our batches of riders based on their grouping in Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy. I think that makes the most sense to me. And, it's kind of fitting because you signed up for ATV Fantasy just a few days ago, Hammy. So it's going to be fun. You haven't played with us yet, but this is going to be fun for you. And yeah, it's crazy when you look at these riders and you're having to choose, you're having to try to predict what's going to happen at these races, man. It doesn't get any easier, that's for sure. And I feel like it's that much harder this year. The class seems stacked to me. I feel like we say that every year, but I think it just gets a little more stacked, a little harder to predict every year. Yeah,
I'm really excited to do this. I should have jumped in last year, but yeah, I'm pretty excited to get me kind of more acquainted with some of these other riders that I may not know. And I like fantasy football. I do the PulpMX fantasy, so why not do ATV Motocross fantasy? And like you were saying, tiers 2, 3, and 4 kind of like, I think that's the money makers right there.
It is
where the points are going to come.
It is. I feel like some of those lower tiers are the ones that kind of make or break a team, right? They're harder to predict. I've said it over and over and over again on the show here that I'm so proud of that, because before, you'd watch the battle at the front, and you might watch the battle for a podium, and then you might not be watching the rest of the class necessarily. Well, now, and I've said from the beginning, the more Digging Deep as a whole, the more the more you care, the more educated you are, the more you care about the racing going on. So this way you're paying attention to every single rider. You're having to predict how every single rider is going to have to do at the races. It's so much fun. I think it's enhanced the racing and the fan experience for all of our ATV racing enthusiasts out there exponentially. I really do. So we're going to talk about the riders, not necessarily fantasy wise, but you can think about fantasy as we go here. For anybody that hasn't signed up yet, you can sign up today at atvfantasy.com. It's very simple. We talk about it each week. It's a $25 sign-up fee. You get to play the whole year. You get to choose a new team every week. We give away prizes every week. We give away prizes at the end of the year. We do sign stuff, tire sets, prizes that are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And then again, stuff that's priceless. Signed jerseys from Chad Wienen have been up for grabs each and every year. Joel Hetrick stuff, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Bryce Ford. Go down the list. So we got all kinds of stuff. And you don't even have to be good at the game to win stuff. We do some random giveaways as well, which is fun. So let's start with our tier 1. Again, we're not necessarily talking just fantasy. We're going to, kind of discuss these riders, talk about where they're at going into the new season and this 9th annual Daytona ATV Supercross. And the cool thing too, that I've really enjoyed about ATV Fantasy, Hammy, is inside of ATV Fantasy, we keep all these stats that don't necessarily exist anywhere else, right? So I'm looking at, we're looking at our tier 1 riders here. Tier 1 is kind of how we group our win contenders, right? And we already said, for Daytona at least, it's Joel Hetrick, Chad Wienen, and Brandon Hogue. That's who you're going to choose from. You're going to choose one of those riders for your 4-rider squad. But inside of the game, it's fun because, we all know that Joel Hetrick is the 3-time and reigning champion, but we have the list. So he has 93 career podium finishes. He has 50 career race wins. He's a 2-time event winner at Daytona. So I love kind of keeping track of those stats inside the game, stats that probably aren't being, kind of tracked anywhere else. But kind of going into, so we reached out to every one of these riders. I got answers from most of these riders, and Joel wrote me a book back, which I loved. He kind of filled us in on the whole off season. He says that his preseason has been stellar. The machine is better than last year. He said Phoenix has really improved the bike. He's certain that he is better than years past. He says he's better than ever. And for him, the priority is to win this opener because he wants to hold on to that number 1 plate and not give it up going into the second race at Gatorback. So how do you feel about Joel Hetrick, Hammy, for Daytona? I mean, he's a guy, like we said, he kind of got the monkey off his back last year, and he's going to be exciting to watch. I mean, we know he already said it. Like, some guys want to get in and out of Daytona without issue. He wants to win it and hold on to that number 1 plate. And I feel like that just tells you where Joel is coming into this new 2023 season.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with if he's saying that the bike's better than last year, because would it be his second or third year full time on the Yamaha? Third.
Yep,
third. So, yeah, he's going to be that much more comfortable with it. And if they had any kinks, I'm sure they've all been worked out. That's who, I don't know if we're talking picks, but that's who is going to be my tier 1.
Okay.
For
Yeah,
sure.
we'll have you assemble your whole team at the end, but you can totally give us spoilers as we go here. Yes. Hey, Hammy, I knew you were going to pick Joel Hetrick. I mean, come on. I know your MO.
Okay. So, but I had a question kind of off topic. Do we know who has the most all-time overall wins in ATV motocross history?
I don't. I just had this conversation, I think, with Tom Carlson asked me what those totals look like. And I don't know, because our archives, only go back so far. I mean, like on the ATV motocross site, anybody that's, been on there a good amount knows that, like, it only goes back to like 2006 or 2007. That's as far back as those details go. You can do some digging on different sites on ATV riders and stuff like that and find stuff from previous to that, but not necessarily tracking anything. So I'm able to, I mean, that 2006, 2007 timeframe, coincides with the start of Chad Wienen's pro career. So I'm able to track that very easily. We'll never lose track of our current racers, but that's something I really wish I knew. I wish I knew how many wins Gary Denton had, or Doug Gust had, or Tim Farr had. And I would love to see, and everybody's argument is that, Chad Wienen and Gary Denton shouldn't be compared. That's fine if you believe that, but I do wish we knew how many wins, right?
Who do you think's got the most?
I would think that Chad's got it. I really do. I know that Gary put together a bunch of really, really, really great seasons there. He won 8 titles. I just don't know if he won as much as Chad did. I mean, Chad, for that, 2012, 13, 14 kind of run there, I mean, he won like 80% of the races, so
yeah,
he was just
crazy
cranking them out. So I have a gut feeling, and we can bleed right into Chad here as we go. I mean, we know he's a 8-time national champ, tied for the winningest in titles won with Gary Denton. Like I just said, he's got 132 career podium finishes. He's got 65 career wins. I wonder, I mean, 65, so if you split that up into 8 seasons, kind of talking about Gary, I mean, you're going to have 8 wins a season,
8 races a year for 8 years,
but that would just get him about tied, right? That would be at 64. So if he had 8 for 8, I mean, that would be a lot of winning for those 8 years. That's why I just have a gut feeling that Chad might have it. I really do.
Yeah, you would think somewhere we could find these stats that, like, when was the first ever ATV motocross pro class race?
Rodney Gentry was the first ever ATV GNC champ, 4-wheeled champ is the best way to put it. That was in 86. But again, we don't have archives that go back that far, at least not tracking each and every, event. But yeah, so let's get into Chad Wienen. He's the most prolific winner, right, in Daytona ATV Supercross history, 5-time event winner. When I talked to Chad, he said that he's got more command of the bike, more command than ever in his program and his riding. He admits that he'll have to see, as we always see with Chad, we'll have to see how the opening races go, kind of play out to see if these adjustments he's made are improvements, made things better, totally in the right direction. But he plans to avoid any points deficits like we saw last year that made his job very tough. But he said if the feeling is right, he has no problem hanging it out. And I started to go there before when we were talking about our storylines and which one of these two guys is going to get the leg up on the other one. And Chad, just for years, 2018 might be the year that stands out the most to me, but for years, he has just found a way to bring his absolute best at Daytona. Now, some of it is getting a good start and getting out in clean air and sprinting away. But man, there was a lot of years, even recent years, even recently, he won it in 2020 and in 2021, where he just grabs another, like you come out and watch him at that first race and it's like, man, he's better than ever. He actually got better in the off season. And that's just stuck in my mind. That's why it's so hard for me to pick against him at this first race. I mean, 5-time event winner, it's just one of those things. It's hard to pick against the guy.
Yeah, he definitely seems to have his setup down for Daytona. It's crazy to think about someone could be that dialed in. Honestly, don't know how he does it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a living legend, man. I told him the other day when we were chatting on the phone, I said, I'm cherishing these these races with you. Like he's a holdover from the previous generation of ATV racers. And again, like I'm just cherishing it while we still got the guy, because it's not going to be the same when he's gone. So finishing out our tier 1, our win contenders, the third guy that you're going to be able to choose from in that first tier. And I don't know how many people are going to pick him, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Like I said earlier, Brandon Hogue, he's our 2022 Digging Deep Most Improved Award winner. He's got 6 podiums to his name. He nearly won this race last year. He was surely going to be on the podium. He was most likely going to be second if he didn't win, but he won from start to when that bike expired late in the race, leading Joel Hetrick the whole way. And man, like we said, Brandon Hogue, I could picture him coming out and winning this first race. When we had him on the show, he didn't want to talk a big game, but deep down, I know he wants to get that revenge. He's a guy that's so competitive. He wants to win and be up front so badly. And I really think that he's got a lot of wind in his sails with this new Yamaha. And, I know that that's the place he wanted to be. So we kind of touched on Brandon already, Hammy, but if you got anything else to add, I just got this gut feeling, man. I really do. I got the sneaking suspicion that we're going to see something special from him.
If I was him, I'd be coming at the tier committee and how he got the shaft on being in tier 1. Like, you couldn't give him one race in the tier 2. He definitely belongs in tier 1. He definitely shows the speed. I think he's just finding the right program away from being like that next guy, honestly.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, that's why last year I was so surprised when I heard of him going away from the music team, just because it seemed like he had things so figured out. He was just on the cusp of kind of getting over the hump. He was clearly running with those guys. I mean, we saw him run second, all the way till the end at Briarcliff too. And then he had a mechanical failure there as well. I know he's working with a ton of the same guys. Brett told us that on the last episode that Brandon is working with a ton of the same people, a ton of the same components. Brought over a ton of the sponsors that he had at Musig's to this new gig. But I don't know. I don't think that he would be upset about being in tier 1. I feel like most of these guys are probably upset. If anything, they're upset that they're in tier 2 and not in tier 1. But like I said earlier, if we had him in tier 2, I think he'd be the majority pick. So we got to make it a little bit harder. But there's going to be people that right. there's going to be people that pick Brandon in tier 1. There's no doubt.
Yeah, anything can happen.
Yeah. So, okay. So joining your selection from tier 1, now moving on to your tier 2 riders, as you think about your team, we're going to talk about these riders and what they have going on coming into the season here. We touched on this rider a little bit already with our headlines segment, our storylines that we're following segment. Bryce Ford, he's 8-time career podium finisher. He's fourth last year in the series. We know he wants a little bit more than that, but he's got a lot of wind in his sails coming off that Quad Cross of Nations victory there and the Huevos Pro Invitation victory, all the stuff that we touched on already. He's in a very different place than he was a year ago. And I mean, wouldn't be surprised if he's the kind of top pick trend in this tier 2 grouping. One of these days he's going to run with those guys right up front. You know, we've seen it in spurts. We've seen some flashes of brilliance, but one of these days he's going to get a hole shot and he's going to lead for a while. I have no doubt that we're going to see it probably this year. You know, we predicted big things each of the last 2 years. Like I said earlier, he's become more of a solid guy that always has the speed and hasn't made a ton of mistakes, but man, I just have a feeling, I mean, third in the series 2 seasons ago, fourth in the series last year. It can only go up. You know, he's going to be right there battling for podiums each and every week.
For sure. I think he'll definitely be someone to pay attention to. I feel like the tier 2, like there's like 4 guys. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but like picking this tier is like the hardest tier. And then it being at Daytona makes it that much harder.
Yeah.
I feel like if we were going to Gatorback, I would be like 80% more locked in on who I want to pick. But since it's Daytona, I feel like there's just a couple guys that they're just one start away and they just have enough speed to stay in front of the other guys on this track.
For sure. I mean, and I guess moving on to this next guy, he kind of shows like how difficult it is to pick. I mean, a guy that had struggled at Daytona in years past, struggled maybe to start the season super strong, but Nick Janusa, he's got 3 career podium finishes. In 2021, though, we saw him win his heat race. He got second in the main event. He freaking slayed it. I think that was the first year of ATV Fantasy. But you know, you can't sleep on the guy. He's been top 5 in every championship of his professional career. The stat that we've said so many times on this show and in our coverage of the sport, man, can't sleep on him because he's always right there. You know, like that's what makes it so tough.
Definitely Mr. Consistency for sure. I'd like to see him get more hole shots and just be out front more. I don't know. Maybe it'll give him confidence on starting up front more. Because I don't know. I haven't been in the races in a while, but it always seems like he's never really started up front. He's always clawing his way back. And so, you know, he's in shape. You know, he can pass.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see him start up front, make some of them other guys work to get around him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like every time we used to have him on the show, it was almost like, I don't want to say negative, but he knew like he just needed some starts. You know, he knew he needed some starts. And if he got a start, everything would be different. And we've seen that now these couple times that he's been on the podium, and we saw it a couple of years ago at Daytona. So we'll see if he can do that again. Jeffrey Rastrelli is the next guy we're going to touch on, a guy that you know well. He's been second and third at this event in the past. He told me that he's got some new components that he's been developing, a package of his own with RP Race Performance and Williams Performance. So super stoked on that. He's really excited about that coming into the new year. He says he's fit, he's enjoying riding. And he said he was, you know, you got to remember that he was in podium position for much of the season last year before a DNF at the finale there. So he's really looking for some redemption. And I think that he's a guy like it's easy to forget how good Jeffrey was last year. Cause I came into the season, I was scared to death with him going out on his own, not being on a team anymore, all these things. And man, he was the best version of himself, or at least the best version that we had seen in literally in years and years. So it's going to be exciting. If he can build on the season he had last year, he's going to be very much in contention for podiums weekly and top 3 in points at the end of the year, because he damn near did it last year.
Yeah, is he still with Rocket Racing, still in the same program, or has he got his own Racing?
It's his own program. It's Australia Racing, but Rocket is not as involved as they were last year. DJ and his wife have, you know, had a little girl, and he's got different priorities, and life got crazy, something that you could relate to. So it is going to be a little different. That is something that, you know, I don't want to say it concerns me, but I knew that was going to be such a great pairing last year because Rocket is so good, so on top of their stuff. DJ is so particular, which is awesome. So that is going to be an adjustment for Jeffrey, but you know, I think that the program is going to be very similar.
Yeah, I think a healthy Rastrelli and in shape Rastrelli is scary because I think he's one of the most talented people I've ever seen on a quad. My years, like I've got to ride with him like 2011, 12, and me just like moving up in the A in the Pro-Am, that was when he was like the man in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah.
The stuff he did on a quad was gnarly. So to see him and like guys like Joel still be racing that, because we're all the same age, like it's kind of crazy. So I know that dude can go like as fast as Joel and, you know, these other guys. So I just thinking in shape and healthy Jeffrey is a scary dude, because I know he can go that fast.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And, you know, he said, because my part of my question that I was asking these guys is, how do you kind of balance, you know, Daytona being, you know, kind of an outlier, but also wanting to start it on a great foot, right? And so he wants to, you know, get some good points at Daytona, get out safe. But at the same time, he said he wants to win bad. He said he wants to win this thing before his career is over. We know it's a home race for him. And yeah, I mean, with a whole shot, you know, anything is possible. And especially at Daytona with a whole shot, man, it's anybody's game. It really is. So it's going to be exciting. Like you said, we saw Jeffrey being, you know, super in shape last year, super fit, super consistent. That's why it was so heartbreaking for him when he did suffer a mechanical here or there that really kind of jeopardized where we saw him finish in points. So we saw him finish in 6th place in points last year, but that was definitely not where his riding had him. I mean, he was very much in contention. It looked like he was going to be the podium guy with a race or two to go, and still had it. It was still an opportunity for him. It was still there for the taking on the last day of the season. And with another DNF, things just didn't go his way. Moving on to a guy I obviously pull for, and we didn't touch on this, but 24 career podiums for Jeffrey too. I mean, he's done it a lot of times. So Jeffrey's going to be a guy to watch. But moving on to the next guy I always cheer for, 4-time career podium finisher. He's a young kid. He's from Wisconsin, but a guy that's super easy to cheer for. He's a grinder. He freaking just puts his head down and holds that thing pinned. Max Lindquist. He's a guy that finished second at this race last year with very little seat time. He was coming in off an injury last year. So he's going to be a guy to watch. You know how it is when you go to a track or a venue that you've finished well at before. He comes in to Daytona after finishing second last year, but Max is a guy who very much, I mean, he could be on the podium at Daytona, no problem. And he's going to be a guy that finishes on the podium multiple times this season. I would think he's going to be, if he can just kind of iron out the little, I don't want to call them rookie blunders. They're just, sometimes it's wrong place, wrong time. But if he can just iron out some of those little things, he's going to be very much in contention with all these guys, because we know he's as fast as anybody and he's just going to keep getting better. He's so young. And the rumor is, and I did a little poking around trying to figure out what the deal was. I didn't get any answers from Max, so they must be keeping it under wraps. But the rumor I'm hearing is that he and Launderville, two Wisconsin kids, two kids who are some of my favorite racers in existence in ATV motocross at this point, are teamed up for 2023. So that's going to be exciting to see. We'll know in just the next day or two or three, a couple days leading up to Daytona here.
No doubt. I think with all these younger guys, they're so fast at such a young age that it's just it benefits them being this young, because they have all this time to get up to the pace of these guys that have been doing it longer. Guys like Joel, Chad, even Jeffrey, like he's been in the class for a long ass time. So I think being as fast as these kids are at such a young age is good. I think just the more time in the pro class, I think Max would be one of those guys that just gets more comfortable. Maybe we haven't seen the best of him yet because he's still growing into his own, we could say.
Oh, for sure. No, I think we're going to keep seeing him get better and better. You know, we saw him last year at Briarcliff straight up beat Chad Wienen. Like, you know, that's just wild to think about, but he did it and we saw it happen, and he's going to be the guy. I mean, he's the guy, and I've said this before, I don't know if I've said it publicly, but he's the guy that I could see being surely a future champion of this sport. I really could see that. He's just got something about him. You know, he's just got the magic in him for sure. So it's going to be fun to watch and see what he's got in store. He was the rookie of the year in 2021, dealt with some stuff last year, some little things going on, but I think it's going to be exciting to watch him in 2023. And finally, our last tier 2 rider is a guy I don't know a ton about for his new season. We reached out, we didn't hear back from him, but he's two-time career podium finisher. Talking about Wesley Wolf, of course. He's moved to the Yamaha. He switched to Yamaha for this new season. We know he's not racing GNCC, or at least hasn't so far. So he must be focusing on the ATV motocross thing. And we know he's been at Deckers a little bit. And he was third in 2021 at Daytona. So we've seen it before. And he's a guy, there's one thing that I know about Wesley Wolf, and he's always going to bring it. He's always going to be scrappy. He's always going to, not be easy on the guys around him, not going to give up any positions easy. And so you can never sleep on him with a good start, man. He's another guy that could surely be on the podium. We've seen it before.
Definitely. I think, like you said, I think any of these guys in the tier 2 are just a start away from being on the podium. I think just all about the star. I think all of them got that speed and they're all just like right there. It's just who has it that day, who's bringing their best stuff and who's getting the best start, and who's going to ride the smartest and just prevail. But I think Wesley Wolf will be good. Be interesting to see how he does on the Yamaha. This be his first season on a Yamaha.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to see it too. Like I said, he's been staying under the radar a little bit. So I don't, we haven't seen it a ton. We don't know what it looks like a ton, but with him, he's always going to bring it. I mean, he was versatile. He was racing a Suzuki in the woods and a Honda on the moto track. So now if he's going to be on a Yamaha, I think he's going to be that much better.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The following message is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has outdone themselves this time, creating the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, now available for purchase in the US and Canada. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, with this exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at Manscaped.com. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0 and I am blown away. This thing is next level. What sets this trimmer apart from all the rest? The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. It features a new multi-functioning on-off switch with travel lock for those of us who like to travel. And my favorite, the new trimmer allows you to customize your trim with 4 different guard lengths, an upgrade from its predecessor that only featured 2. If you're listening, you know that good tools are a must, so wait no more to get the best tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped.com by using code DiggingDeep20.
Hey everyone, this is Larry Mills, president of DP Brakes North America and proud partner of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. We at DP Brakes are a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology, dominating the ATV world for decades by supporting the best four-wheel racers on the planet. This year's lineup includes Jeff Rastrelli, Mark Baldwin of Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, and many more, including Mr. Digging Deep himself, Cody Jansen. Plus all the top 17 GNCC pros such as 7-time champion Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Hunter Hart, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, and previous champion Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on top of the podium week after week. DP brakes are available through www.dp-brakes.com, or you can purchase them through your local Parts Unlimited stocking dealer, or you can even message us, myself, Larry Mills, or DP Brakes on Instagram or Facebook. And if you have any questions about product or sponsorship support, please ask us. We are waiting for you. Join the best ATV riders in the world equipped with DP Brakes, and have a great year, everyone.
Nearing 2 decades into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back and better than ever, continuing to make major waves in the ATV world. For the 3rd consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for 2-time champ Joel Hetrick. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to Factory43ATV.com to see their full line of industry-leading products available for all makes and models. Head over to Factory43ATV.com today.
Success in the ATVMX world is similar to what creates financial success as well. The right people, the right advice, and more importantly, hard work and the benefit of an ongoing relationship as situations change and adversity is experienced. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you reach your goals? Haymauer Financial Group can create a personalized, goal-based plan to help your family prepare for whatever life brings. Call me, Scott Haymauer, at Haymauer Financial Group, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, at 920-338-8150. That's 920-338-8150. Offices located in beautiful De Pere, Wisconsin, with registrations and clients nationwide.
Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Launderville family at Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Launderville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products, headlined by the 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Launderville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the concrete division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSE to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to laundervillesteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. Here at Digging Deep, we have an obvious passion for ATVs and pridefully enjoy sharing the sport's history. Since 2019, when the podcast was born, we've been working to partner with individuals who share our passion, but one man and his vision had been missing from our partnership group. Until now. When it comes to the sport's history, the hallowed grounds of Binky's Forever ATC Museum has it all. Binky Tapscott's mind-blowing collection of 3- and 4-wheelers has preserved history by spanning all makes and models, from Honda 3-wheelers in chronological order to unique builds that shaped ATV racing as we know it, like Doug Gust's iconic DRZ-powered hybrid thumper and everything in between. There's no denying Binky's passion, a passion that we certainly relate to here at Digging Deep. Binky's goal is to share his amazing collection with fellow enthusiasts by making his prized possessions accessible to the public via scheduled visits. Follow Forever ATC Museum on Facebook and watch foreveratc.com for further updates on possibly getting a chance to see Binky's Forever ATC Museum for yourself. We are proud to welcome Binky's Forever ATC Museum to the Digging Deep family. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. Okay, we got to move on to Tier 3 then, probably quicken this thing up a little bit so we don't make this thing 3 hours long. But oftentimes, Tier 2 was our podium contenders. Generally speaking, Tier 3, oftentimes these riders are somewhere between 6 and 10 are where they're battling for. So starting off is a lock, a long-time lock in fantasy is Logan Stanfield in Tier 3. He made some improvements, he said, to the bike and himself, physically and mentally this offseason. He's ready to race today. If it was time to drop the gate today, he said, and kind of looking to get through Daytona and get to the outdoors. But Logan Stanfield, I said to you via text, Hammy, when we're kind of starting to talk about fantasy stuff, Logan Stanfield has proven to be the safe pick, the lock in fantasy. He's got one top 5 finish to his name, but he's a guy that is very oftentimes a safe pick, and he's a kid I like so much. He's such an awesome kid. But what are your thoughts on Logan Stanfield coming into Daytona and the 2023 season as a whole?
Interested to see what his bike build is this year. He's always got like the sickest setup. I think, like graphics and like a clean looking like badass bike.
He does.
So I give him props on that, like doing shit that's kind of like sparkly pop out, like, but it's still clean. Like that's what I like. But
shout out to SSI decals.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he'll be up there in the top 10 for sure. That's normally where he sits at.
I would predict that he's been, or not predict, but I would guess that he's been 8th. He's been 8th, like a quarter, like 3 out of 4 times, or however you want to say it. More times than not, he is 8th. Like he finishes 8th overall, which in Tier 3 is often going to win it. I mean, that's just how it works. But he's rock solid. You just know what you're getting from Logan. Like, I feel like I say that in so many of the race review pods and these preview shows and whatever, but you just know what you're getting from him, which is awesome. Like he's a pro's pro. He really is. And you know how tough it is to be 8th in the pro class, or 7th or 6th. Like I've said so many times, finishing 6th or 7th is winning, for dudes like us. And I feel like that's where Logan kind of falls. And if he can just take a step, just a half a step forward, we've seen him get good starts in the past. We saw him finish top 5 overall at Lake Sugar Tree in 2020. But man, he's just a guy I love cheering for, and he's a guy you know what you're getting from, you know what you're getting from him. And I think that if we see a half a step forward from him, he's going to be battling with some of those tier 2 guys in the season ahead.
No, they're able to move up in tiers, so he could very well be a tier 2 at some point.
Exactly.
Okay.
So exactly. So as we go here and we kind of get into some of these guys are definitely going to move. I mean, you obviously want to move up, but we're going to definitely see some of these guys from tier 4 to tier 3, from tier 3 to tier 2. That's just something that's going to happen for sure. Yep.
Okay. Or down.
That too.
3 to 4, 2 to 3.
Too.
Okay.
That too. Absolutely. I don't know that there's any candidates that jump off the page to me to move down unless we see Brandon Hogue, right? Or somebody like that, who's maybe, we get to these outdoor tracks and maybe he's not necessarily battling for wins. If he's battling for podiums, we'll bump him down to tier 2 until he's battling for wins. We just, you're trying to set up the game so it's hard to pick, right? And like I said earlier, if we had him in tier 2, I feel like his pick trend would be astronomical. So we need to make it a little tougher than that. But moving on then, our next guy in tier 3, another guy that's rock solid. So you can't sleep on this guy. Cody Ford. He's our 2021 Most Improved Pro Award winner. I love this kid. I love every conversation I have with him. And something that you can't sleep on, Hammy. Of the last 20 races, Cody Ford has finished in the top 10, 16 of the last 20 races, including 9 in a row to end the 2021 season. So that makes him again, a very formidable pick in tier 3. Can't sleep on Cody Ford. And he's a Thor rider for 2023, which is freaking awesome. I love that.
That's impressive. Like you were just saying, getting like Logan getting 8th that many times in a row, like getting 8 top 10 in the pro class is no easy task. So if you can do it over a course of time and consistently do it,
exactly,
that's good for your confidence. And hopefully he builds off that. I mean, he got that podium, wasn't it, Illinois, a couple years ago? 2019.
Yep. Right.
And I thought for sure that was going to like snowball affect something. So maybe Daytona could be the time. It could rain, it could be a mud race, and it seems to be he's a pretty decent mud rider. So
yeah, he's just in general a guy I would categorize again as a pro's pro. You know what you're getting from him, like you just said. I mean, we both know how tough it is to not only finish in the top 10, but to do it 16 of the last 20 times, 16 times in the last 2 seasons. He's finished in the top 10, which is so respectable, in 9 times in a row. That's just crazy to me, right? I mean, you got to be so consistent. He's such an awesome rider. And touching on that podium that he got in 2019, right after we started the show, I believe we covered it. We had him on our second episode when we didn't even know we were going to do race reviews and, all that stuff. We got him on the show. And the cool part with him is he gets that podium. Then he had some struggles, right? He battled some stuff. That next season wasn't great for him. And he's just been building ever since. He's been getting better and better and better and better. And last season, towards the end of the season, I think we saw the best version of Cody Ford that we ever had seen. I mean, he's rock solid, but now his speed's that much better. And the class just keeps getting that much better. So when you're continuing to get better as a rider in a class that's stronger than any that he's raced against, in my personal opinion, that says a lot about a guy. And he's, again, such a grinder, great dude. He's going to work his ass off. And that's Cody Ford for you. I don't know what else to say about that. So then our third rider in tier 3 is reigning 2022 AMA ATV Pro Rookie of the Year, joining the club that we are a part of, Hammy. So welcoming Zach to the club there. 2021 Pro Sport National Champion, of course. He was 6th last year. He was 6th last year at Daytona, nearly finished in the top 5. I think if the race would have been 1 lap shorter, he would have finished in the top 5. Chad Wienen is the guy that snuck by, so you can't sleep on him. Bunch of riding time, obviously, of course. Speed isn't an issue coming from the Decker training facility, doing all the riding that he's doing. But are those rookie mistakes going to be out of his system? I think that's the biggest key for him, because speed is not an issue. Fitness with all that riding time shouldn't be an issue. His 1 lap speed there's no doubt about that he's got that. It's more, are we going to see the little blunders, the stuff he battled last year? He was a rookie. It's fair. That happens. But is that going to be over as we move on to his sophomore season? That's going to be the biggest key. Now, we had Brandon Hogue on Brandon Hogue is working as his trainer there at On the Box Fitness. And he's talked a big game. He's talked up Zach Decker in a major way. So it's going to be exciting to see. But Zach Decker's one of those guys, we know he's got the speed. He could we almost saw him finish in the top 5. We saw other 6th place finishes later in the year too. So we did it on outdoor tracks as well. Feel like his upside, don't disrespect to anybody else in tier 3. His upside might be the most of anybody in this grouping. I would assume eventually we see him in tier 2, whether it's this year or next year, whatever the story is, but he's got it in him. It's just, can he put the whole package together?
I think another guy that's got some sick bikes that look pretty badass.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see. I mean, they got that big ATV spring break showdown, and I was just looking into that. They're doing 30-minute plus 2
I saw
motos.
that.
So whoever's in that moto, I got some stuff written down about that. But whoever, I think Zach Decker's doing it. So we'll see what kind of shape he's in for that. And that should show if those rookie blenders are out or not. Because, I mean, we'll be at his track. He should know it like the palm of his hand. And hopefully, I mean, I want to see the kid do good. I think he's got sick style and his bikes look sick. So,
yeah,
you want to see guys come in the class and do good.
Yeah, I mean, basically.
And do what they're capable of.
Exactly. I think that you're exactly right. That's going to be a lot of fun to see that event. We can touch on the Decker race there for a second if you'd like, because I know it's something that you wanted to get into. We know that basically like everybody's going to be there. I know that Chad is not, like we heard when we had Thomas on. That's the same weekend as their riding school. So, it's kind of balancing for amateurs, right? Do you want to go race Deckers, which is a phenomenal place to ride? It looks amazing. At the same time, there's certain people out there that are going to prioritize riding the national track the weekend before the national race there. But yeah, so what I've seen is, like you said, 30-minute moto, right, is the main event. They're running the Woods Loop, I think, as part, and like the whole moto track too, which is kind of cool. And then they're doing the bracket style racing. So I don't know exactly.
That's what I was going to ask you. I know they do the head-to-head racing, and it said to get into the main. And then if you win your head-to-head bracket, you don't have to go to the LCQ. So
got it.
I seen a video. They really didn't go in.
Got it.
I don't know what they're doing for an LCQ or anything like that, but you would assume that everyone would make the 31 or 30-minute moto.
I would assume, but maybe there's not, maybe like everybody can't start on the first row. I mean, who knows? Like there's a reason, obviously, but I love bracket style racing. It's so much fun. And inevitably it's only human to look at some of the matchups, right? And think, okay, like that's going to be that's going to be a dog fight. There was some that I'm like, okay, like I don't have them in front of me, but name a rider that, maybe is going to have an easy route. One that stood out to me is there was JJ Launderville versus Wesley Wolf. And to me, that's a fascinating matchup because JJ's got some serious speed. I don't know that I would want to be in a bracket race with Wesley Wolf though.
Yeah, especially going through a little bit of the woods. So
that's right.
It almost seems like a style of track that's right up his alley. That was actually one of the matchups I think is going to be like one of the better ones. And then the Restrelia and Janusa ones, like, that's like a main event right there.
It is.
I feel like
it is. That's the other one that I'm like, man, that's a toss up. Yeah.
They should have some GoPros on both of them for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can't wait for the coverage of that event too. I'm sure Gloop will have all kinds of stuff going on for that, but yeah, that'll be really cool. I mean, obviously that's going to be the place to be. Northern Florida there, or Central Florida, is going to have all kinds of cool stuff going on with Deckers having that race, with the Gatorback riding school weekend and all that stuff going on down there. So it's going to be the place to be. It's going to be really cool. Do you have anything else you want to touch on Deckers before we get to the rest of the guys here?
Who do you think's going to win?
Hard to pick against Joel. It's very hard to pick against Joel, but Brandon looks so good to me. Like,
I like that it's a 7-minute. I think they said 7-minute lap time.
Yeah.
So
it just
that's what I got Joel winning, but
it's gonna be one of those two guys, in my opinion.
It'd be nice to see Joel and Hogue go head to head on a 1-lap sprinter.
Well, so that's my question with the bracket style racing. I want to see it bracket style all the way down to a winner take all duel, and then that can just be your qualifying positions or I don't know how you would make it play out, meaning towards the to winning, putting that towards winning the event or whatever. But man, like, I don't want to see just one round of bracket style racing. I want to see it all the way down to the finish.
No, no doubt. Same here. And I seen they're doing something different with the gate pick too, like off your season results last year. So like Joel is going to have the last gate pick or the second gate pick in his bracket.
So it's inverted.
Against.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. I like that.
So yeah, that'll be cool. Hopefully they got a lot of, if it's such a long track, hopefully they got a lot of GoPros and got a lot of people filming some stuff so we can see.
Oh, I'm sure Gloop has done a ton of planning there at Ripida Films for that one. Well, who do you think's going to win? Can't move on without asking you.
The showdown?
Yeah.
Joel, I think it's going to be, that was another thing. If it's 30 minutes plus 2, they're not going to be running the race bikes unless you think, do you? This close to the opening round, 30 minutes.
Well, it's a lot of money to win, right? It's $15,000 to win or whatever 15, the number is. Yeah.
Yeah. 15. I think Joel's going to win regardless if he's on his race bike or practice bike. But.
Agreed. It's a lot of money to win. I would assume that if it's, it's Joel, right? So Joel has the luxury of having some extra bikes. Like, I would just assume Phoenix would have a fully prepped, ready to go, fully gone through bike for him, that whether it's his national race bike or not, they're going to have that thing ready to go. Right. So
that's going to be sick.
Like I said, between Joel and Brandon, those would be the two guys. I mean, they're on the same training program. That's a track. I mean, Brandon's been there since November, right? Like, he's done so many laps around that place. He should know it like the back of his hand. He's done more laps there than Joel has, at least in recent times. So to me, it comes down to those two guys, but it's impossible to pick against Joel Hattrick,
Yeah, I think the 30 minutes is going to play a factor on some things.
Yeah.
Agreed. The length of the moto and equipment.
Agreed.
It's kind of risky you going, if you don't win, or say if you smoke a motor and you got to go to Gatorback, the next weekend.
For some guys, guys,
that's a risk.
It is, for sure. I mean, yeah, it'd be hard to justify probably riding your race bike. I mean, that's a lot of wear and tear on your stuff there, but yeah, you can't say no to that kind of money. That's for sure. Okay. So we're going to jump back in here. We're finishing up our tier 3 riders. This next guy, he's a guy I enjoy so much. He's back after injury derailed his season and ended it early last season. Of course, I'm talking about Michael Allred. He was 8th at this event in 2021. He was 8th at this event in 2022. He got great starts. He's led this tier at those races. He's been awesome. He's a guy that gets good starts all the time. He's got 7 career top 10 finishes. He's just been rock solid and he keeps getting better. We talked with Thomas at length about Michael Allred, but yeah, last season he was putting together a great season. Like we chatted about with Thomas, he had 2 8ths. He had a 6th before the injury last year. I think for me, not only is Michael Allred somebody to really look at and think about for your fantasy team, really watch as he puts together the beginning of his season here. He's continuing to get better and better and better, but he's a prime candidate for most improved pro. He's a prime candidate for the Digging Deep Most Improved Pro Award at the end of the season. But Michael Allred has proven to be a very hard guy to pick against in fantasy, and he's going to be a rider to watch all season long. He's a guy I really enjoy. I love Mike there.
Seems like he's got his whole shots down. Every time I ever see him, he's always kind of up towards the front of the pack.
That was what Thomas was saying.
And it's like consistent. He's kind of like got good starts. So if he can just build off that, I think, like you said, he'll be in the top 10. I'm sure he'll be grinding out. Another person's bikes I like that lime green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much what Thomas said, right? You can't pick against the guy because he gets such good starts, especially at Daytona. So he's going to be.
Who does their motors?
Baldwin.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's nice.
And that was another selling point for Thomas was, he's got power with that Baldwin power there. So hard to pick against Michael Allred. So glad he's back healthy and back in the series. So glad for that. But yeah, moving on then. Our final pick. Our final guy to choose from in tier 3, I called him the biggest story of the offseason. He was our number 1 storyline as we started this episode. He runs a twist throttle, as Hammy is motioning to me right now. The 5-time European champ is going to be such a great addition to our series. I posted the other day, our series is better with Kevin Saar than without Kevin Saar. It's going to be awesome to see how this all plays out. Brett said on the last episode that he very much thinks that Kevin is going to be in the running for a top 5 right away. Basically, Brett said he's been around this thing for a long time and believes that Kevin's going to be in the running for top 5 right away. I don't doubt that. That's kind of something that I pictured possibly happening. I just thought it was a little ballsy to put him in tier 2 right away. Right. But I think I'm curious to see what people think. Are people going to really run with? Is he going to be the pick trend pick in tier 3? I have a feeling that he's going to be. I really do. And he was such an awesome guest on our show. I mean, talking about how big of a dream this is for him. He's realizing a dream. And Hammy, you said that he's an X factor for you coming into this race.
Yeah, for sure. I think just from it's hard to tell by clips, like, so you can't really anyone can look fast in a 10-second clip to me.
Right.
So got that eye speed, that eye test speed that you can kind of see. So it'll be interesting to see if he's as fast as what all this hype is, or if he's not. But like I said, it's kind of hard to tell on a Daytona track. Like, I guess we'll find out when we get there. Is it going to be a passable track? Is it going to be one line and then can kind of go from there? But I know, like, I listened to probably what Brett said about him, about the worker and stuff, and knowing racing against Brett. So I know that that guy's going to be in shape and going to be like kind of like a no bullshit type of rider.
Exactly.
It seems like he's going to probably take advantage of the opportunity that's given to him to be riding in the States. So
Exactly.
I think him and Hogue are the 2 biggest X factors.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be awesome to watch. Again, how do you not cheer for the guy? I thought he was such an awesome guest. To think about somebody realizing their dream, right? I mean, we all dreamed about being pros in the AMA ATV Pro class. We got to achieve that, but I can't imagine what that feels like to a guy that came halfway across the world to do it. You know, that's just got to be the coolest thing. He's riding for a great team, a great dude. They obviously have been proven to be successful. They were team of the year last year. All the great stuff that the Music Racing and Repair team accomplished last year, with Brett winning Pro Sport and 25 plus, Brandon finishing in the top 3 in the pro class, and all the rest of the success that they had. So it's going to be really fun to watch. It really is. And I think that we're going to see Kevin Saar battling closer to the front than I think some people think. And like you said, I mean, those clips are, some clips can be deceiving. I don't want to say it that way, but clips are what they are. But on his clips, it was like the body position and the scrubbing of the bike and the way he was, really working those jumps, working those whoop sections. That's what stood out to me, is he looks the part of a guy that could battle in the top 5. I mean, he did the eye test, at least from the videos we saw. Obviously we're not seeing it firsthand, but the videos I saw, he looks like a guy who, I mean, again, he looked the part. That's the best way to put it.
No doubt. That's someone I wish he was going to that Decker showdown, just so we can kind of get like a preseason glimpse of what's really there.
Yeah, I think from what they said is he's going to be back in Europe after Daytona, and then coming back here for Gainesville for Gatorback. And then I can't remember if they said he's back here to stay after Gatorback or Texas, but either way, he's a little bit back and forth right now. And then he'll be here to stay after that. So that's one thing that I was kind of taking into account too, is after he finds his footing here, will he grab another gear basically, or how that'll all work out. But either way, he's going to be a guy to watch. So moving on then, tier 4, these are guys shooting for the top 10, right? So guy that kind of led this tier last year is a guy who's seems like a super good dude, super good kid. He's got 1 career top 10 finish to his name, but again, he led this tier last year. Vince Merman. He doesn't have as much time on the bike as he would like, but he is at Deckers. He's working hard right now. He's looking forward to taking a big step and running with some of the guys that he hasn't ran with to his career yet at this point, which I thought was a really cool thing to hear from him. I mean, he's got some realistic goals. He wants to kind of chip away and start racing guys that, are maybe a level or a tier, if you will, above him at this point. And he said he just wants to stay safe at Daytona and beat his career best, which he's got that 1 career top 10 finish. So he's shooting for the top 10. And if he takes a little leap, a step forward, if you will, we're going to definitely see that from him. But Vince, he's an Ohio guy, right? Hammy, do you have any connection to him at all?
Definitely, he is an Ohio guy. Maybe like being at local tracks a lot maybe back when I was racing, and he was probably just in like the C and the B class. I do remember him start racing and maybe closer, like I think he was closer to Davenport's, like Macy Davenport.
Sure. Yeah.
Knowing him through them, but it is crazy to see. I mean, it's cool to see kids like that, or just anyone start, at the C or the B class, and then finally make it to the pro class. And he's been in the pro class for what, 2 or 3 years now?
Couple years. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still pretty cool to see kids do that. I mean, that's what I did. I started at the bottom, and then we make it to the pro class. So that's cool. Is he on a Yamaha or Honda now?
He's on a Yamaha now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on a Yamaha now. But yeah, like you said, I mean, he's a grinder. He's been just chipping away. And that's why last year seeing him be kind of because it's fun. Like we post about the winning team, right? The perfect team after these races. And it's fun to include him in that. Like it made me feel good. Cause like you said, he's just been chipping away, getting better and better and better, maybe starting from the bottom kind of thing. I remember a couple of years ago, he won some Pro-Am races, a Pro-Am race or two at the end of the season, which is awesome. And he's got it in him. He's just putting it together. He's doing it within his means, it seems like to me. And just looking forward to kind of seeing some more good things out of Vince here in 2023. And very similar. So Vince's season last year was maybe kind of a mirror image of what we saw from Cesar Jimenez the year before. Cesar Jimenez joined us on the show recently. He was an awesome guest. How do you not cheer for our Costa Rican AMA ATV pro here? He was a fantasy darling. That's what we called him in 2021. He seemingly led this here each and every week in 2021. So he knows how to do it. He's got that one career top 10 finish, I believe, much like Vince there, but he's looking to earn some more to this season. When he came on the show, he told us like he's staying at Ford's, which is a big asset for him. Obviously training with the Ford boys. I think that goes both ways. I really do, because I know that, Cesar is a worker, right? He's a worker. He's a trainer. I think he's always up to something. He's always doing something. He's always being active, all that stuff. And I think that rubs off on maybe Bryce, right? Maybe that rubs off on Bryce. I know Cody's a constant worker too. So Bryce is around some dudes that work their tails off. But Cesar plans to make some major improvements this year. Like he told us, he's looking to kind of take a step forward. I thought he was a great dude. Loved talking to him. And he's won this tier, man, more than 50% of the time in recent seasons, at least in 2021. I mean, like I said, he was almost the winning pick in this tier so many times. So he's going to be a guy to watch out for, and a guy that I would love to see be successful here in 2023.
I'll be keeping my eye on him for sure.
Yeah.
See if he's the fantasy darling that you say he is.
Hey, he was 2021. He was the lock pick each and every weekend. It was fun to watch. Moving on to the next guy. 47 years young. We touched on this guy a little bit before we hit record on this. I think between you and I, we're talking about Marshall Smith, of course. He told us that he's going to be racing most all the races, planning to be at all the races other than Texas and High Point. He's on a Suzuki, so Suzuki fans can rejoice. He's a guy that the Suzuki people pull for. He switched a few components this offseason. He's a good starter, just a good dude. The reason why we were talking about him before we hit record is he's a guy that it really resonated with me, being an older guy. He was 45 at the time or whatever when he made his pro debut. And he was just so stoked to realize this goal, to check off, this box of being a pro, an AMA ATV pro, which is really, really cool. So he's a guy that's going to be fun to watch. I'm glad he's out there, and glad he's going to be back for another season in the pro class. 47 years old, Hammy.
Yeah, kudos to him. I couldn't imagine getting on a quad, and then let alone being in the pro class. Yeah, kudos to him, because that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, he's doing what we've heard Joe Bird say he's been, going to do for all these years, is race as a 47.
We're still waiting for that.
Right.
I would love to see it. I mean,
it would be awesome.
Views would be through the roof if he lined up again. I think it would be cool to have like an ATV Legends class, guys like Bird and
yeah, it would be cool.
Tally show up, just have a class for them. That would be sweet.
Yeah. Well, I think that something, and then we'll get to the rest of the class here, but something that I've heard from a lot of these guys, the way that the rules are structured now is, unless you're going to, if you're a past pro, let alone a champion, but if you're a past pro, like you either have to race pro or pro-am or pro sport, one of the pro quote unquote classes, or 25 plus, which is fast. And those are your only options to race if you come back. So it does make it tough. And I think you do limit you do limit kind of some of your legends coming back because they don't want to race Brett Music or,
Yeah.
name whoever in the 25 plus class,
That might be something like the Spring Break Showdown could have.
Mhm.
Maybe not be an AMA event,
or
just for like the fans.
or it's something you do at maybe one event. You do it at one national or two nationals a year, kind of like they did years ago, a few years back with a two-stroke class. It wasn't an every race thing necessarily. It was at a couple races, and then some dudes came out of the woodwork because it wasn't a huge commitment. It was just a race or two. So maybe that's something that we can speak into existence. Okay, moving on to Zach Harris in our tier 4 group of riders here. He's going to be at all the races except for Texas and Illinois is what he told us. He said those are up in the air. Those are long drives. So he's a farmer. Those are long trips. Those are tough on a farmer there for him. This is going to be his first Daytona as a pro. So he's excited about that. And he's healthy. That's the biggest thing. He's healthy after having torn a ligament in his thumb last year, I believe. He had an ulnar nerve surgery since then when that didn't all get cleared up. But the biggest thing that when I reached out to Zach, what he wanted to tell people and wanted to make known is that he's been riding injured since his pro debut. And he's really looking forward to hopefully getting in the top 10. And I thought that was really cool. I mean, he wanted to basically tell people what you've seen of him so far isn't what you necessarily can expect from him. He feels like he's got more in him than what you've seen of him so far. And he's looking to get into the top 10. That's what he's really shooting for and hoping for. And that's something that I feel good about because that's a good, realistic goal, right? You want people to have goals that they can achieve, and that's him. So that's basically our tier 4 riders. That's kind of split into two. Now you're only going to pick one of them, but it's kind of split into two because those are the guys that have already been in the class. And now we have the guys that are fascinating new additions to the class. So Dane Molander, he was our 2021 Digging Deep Rising Star Award winner. He's an incoming pro class rookie, of course. He's the reigning 2022 Pro-Am national champion. He's possibly the favorite, I would say, maybe in tier 4, right? You probably know that maybe his upside is the best. He's got a freaking beautiful yellow Suzuki look to that quad that we saw the photos going around there of that thing. He told us when he joined the show, he was on the show recently. He said he's shooting for the top 10. He kind of announced that he's going to go pro here on the show, shooting for the top 10. He would love the thought of, looking to his left, looking to his right, seeing these heroes around him, and then going out and getting a podium or a top 5. But like we touched on earlier, he's going to be a guy to watch. He could very much be the favorite in this tier and this group of rookies. And I would assume that, maybe a few races in, or maybe even less than that, he's going to be moving up a tier. I mean, I can very much imagine him being in tier 3 before we know it. Kind of the Max Lindquist thing. I think Max Lindquist was in tier 4 for 1 week, and then he finished 4th at the opener, and we had to move him up.
Yeah, I definitely think Molander's the favorite for Rookie of the Year. It'll be cool to see another Suzuki out there. I mean, shit, when I first started racing, there was factory Suzukis there, so it's cool seeing them yellow bikes back out there. I like Suzukis. Yeah, and he's got a pretty badass one. It'll be interesting to see if it holds up and does him well.
I hope it does. There's people that are worried about the reliability of it. I'm really not. I think it's going to be just fine. I know that he's got a really good program there, and I think it's going to be good. It's going to be fun to watch. But these rookies, man, that's why it was in my top 5 for storylines, is because they just add fascination to the class, because they're bringing in a bunch of speed, and you don't know exactly how it's going to play out for them. I mean, they can get a start and stick around up front for a while, and that's what makes it so much fun. And I think that this next guy kind of fits in that same category, right? Aaron Salinas, he's the reigning 2022 Digging Deep Rising Star Award winner. He was the runner-up last year in Pro Sport. He was 3rd in Pro-Am behind Dane Molander and Joey Chambers. But he's a guy that's he's rock solid. Like, what you're getting from him. I was already thinking about him. He's such a young kid, I think 18 years old, but I was already thinking of him as a pro. So when I talked to him, he said he's been balancing work and school. He's down at Splendora, down near Rage down there. He's been pounding laps down there. He was with Max and Max Lindquist and JJ Launderville doing some training recently. He's back on the TDR program. So super, super fascinated and stoked to see how he's going to do. He's been an awesome guest every time he's been on the show. He's such a respectful young kid, great rider, even better person. His goals are top 10. which is realistic for him for sure. And his goal is to hopefully stick around the top 10 there and sneak in the top 5. And honestly, I think he could do it. I really do. He's a guy that we saw win Pro-Am races. We saw him win Pro Sport. He gets good starts. And like I said, he's rock solid. He's not a rookie that I'm worried about having some ups and downs or, pushing the issue, having get-offs, stuff like that. I mean, I think that he's going to be rock solid. And sometimes, especially if you're thinking about fantasy, like that's what makes a guy a safe pick, especially in tier 3 or tier 4. And I can't wait to see what Aaron Salinas has up his sleeve for his rookie season in the pro class.
Definitely. I think you nailed it. I think for the tiers 3 and 4, you definitely want people who are going to do all the laps. You want guys that are going to finish every race, just finish every race and do your best every time.
Yeah.
Even if you got to putt around.
Exactly. So I'm going to ask you something because I've thought about this so much, and I know I've talked about it a little bit on the show, but if Digging Deep ATV Fantasy would have been a thing when we were racing, I know for a fact I would have known what tier I was in, and I would have wanted to beat the other guys in my tier, right? Like if I would have been in a tier with Sean Taylor and name whoever,
me, Moser,
exactly.
Casey
I would have wanted to be the guy, I would have known, like, I want to beat that guy. And I'm wondering if you would think the same way, because I've thought about that so much with some of these guys, maybe where we were in the class, tier 3, tier 4, just thinking about like I would want to win my tier,
Oh, definitely. I think it kind of compare this to like back when I was a rookie, they were like keeping track on who was the points leader of the rookies, and they were putting in the ATV scene magazines. And I would get pissed when I wouldn't be, because pretty much like the 9th or 10th spot was that rookie spot. And I would be so mad if it was Fix or Casey Martin. Like, I wanted to be the rookie of the year. So I guess we could call that, probably in our time, we would have all been tier 3s. I don't think any of us were any higher tier, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't have been happy seeing any of literally any of them ahead of me. That would have drove me nuts.
We all had those guys. For me, it was Sean Taylor. We've had him on the show since then. I love the dude, right? But he was from Iowa. I was from Wisconsin. We had mutual friends. Growing up, it was like, well, Sean Taylor's doing this and Sean Taylor's doing that. And it was just like, I had this thing, like, I just wanted to beat Sean Taylor, right? I had nothing against the guy. And I would consider him a friend. Like, he's awesome. Like, I feel like we can relate to each other in a way. Our careers were so similar. But he was one of the guys that, like, if Sean Taylor was up ahead of me, I was going to do anything to go catch it and pass him. And that's how I think about it with this game. If I would have known, like you said, with him, with you, with Mosier, Fix, any of those guys, like, if I would have known that they were in my tier, man, I would have wanted to go get them. Like, that would have been just a small little bit of incentive to go get them, instead of them just being another blank face or whatever. Like, I would have pushed that little bit more to go get them. And I wondered if you would have done the same, but it sounds like you would have.
Oh, for sure. I don't even think, sitting here thinking, trying to give you just one guy, I don't think I don't know. There's a lot of them I just would not be happy with losing to in that regard. I could probably name 4. Like,
yeah, it's fun to think about. And I'm just so glad. I'm stoked that we have this game. It just makes it so much fun. But yeah, we got 2 more riders to touch on, both incoming rookies, guys that I don't know necessarily tons about, but guys that, that we're going to see in the pro class and we need to get to know. So first up, Adam Ulrich, rounding out our tier 4 here. He's incoming pro class rookie. He's number 68. Years past, he was number 8. So he's going to be number 68 now. So you know who that is when he's coming in. He's got 1 career Pro-Am podium. He's been living with Jeffrey, so that kind of gives him a little bit of a boost there. He's living with Jeffrey. I think he's planning to at least up to and around the Gatorback time, so he'll be there for a couple more weeks. He's on a Yamaha now. He's still on the program. So he's been a long time worker with the program and with Dom there. So he's definitely in shape. I can vouch for that. He's definitely in shape. He's definitely a badass. And his biggest thing, he said he's not too worried about Daytona. He's focused on Gatorback, wants to just get in and out of Daytona safe and then move on to the outdoor races. But Adam Ulrich, I could see him being a guy, to lead this tier. Again, he saw he took a major step in Pro-Am and Pro Sport last year, which was really cool to see. I mean, I can't remember if he won a moto or two, but I know he like was winning and either crashed or broke. I mean, there was definitely some times where he was as fast as anybody last year in a couple motos. So he could be a guy, especially if he takes he's a very young kid. So if he takes a half a step forward and finds his footing in the pro class, and sometimes it's almost like, obviously in the pro class, you're going to get faster because you're racing faster guys, but it also is like, you don't have the pressure of, hey, I'm leading pro-am or I'm in second or third in pro-am. I might be in 10th or 11th in the pro class. Feels like nobody's watching me. I'm just pounding laps. Right. And I'm getting better that way.
I feel like there's just pressure everywhere.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And you're not far off, man. I get exactly what you're saying. I vouch for how badass the pro class is every week, right? Like for somebody who hasn't been out there and raced the pro class, it's almost like you can watch 1,000 races and you don't know what it feels like to be out there with those guys. Like there's no hiding from anybody out there when you're on the track with the pro class. I guess, it's just a little bit of a different feeling when you're at least this is how it felt for me. Like you're in the middle of the pro class. Yes, it's fast as shit. There's fast guys around you. There's guys right in front of you. There's guys right behind you. But that's a great authentic way to just get faster rather than feeling the pressure of leading a race. That's what I meant by, there's not the pressure of leading or being on the podium in pro-am. Now you're just in the middle of the pro class, doing your laps, pounding your laps, clicking your laps off and getting faster. Like that's just something I could see Adam doing. Like, I feel like we're going to see him take some steps this year.
Yeah. I think if you don't have many expectations or high expectations, I could see the no pressure and then being more free. I could see that. And then that would be almost a better way to go into it. I think if you could put no expectations on yourself, but still be confident in what you've done up until that point, which that's pretty hard to do. Mm-hmm. I think that would be the way to go into a rookie season, not to have any expectations, but know that you did everything you could. And then it almost be like a present for what you got.
Yeah. Okay. So before we touch on our very last rider, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now we've touched on 19 guys. Presumably there's going to be 20 guys that are going to be signed up for this pro race at Daytona. That means 4 aren't going to make it because they take 16. And the reason why in my mind, I hadn't even thought about touching on that before we started here, but I just remember, like I touched on earlier, I was scared to death that I wasn't going to qualify at the first Daytona race. And then my rookie debut at the end of 2013, I was scared to death that I wasn't going to qualify. It was Redbud 2013. The class was stacked. There was 20 some. They take
22, 23. I was just looking at that.
There was some,
like 23 was
exactly. There was something like that. And I was so scared I wasn't going to qualify. And it made me ride tight as can be, so I get it. Like, I'm not trying to forget about, the past, because it made me ride tight back then. But I qualified 10th, like it wasn't even an issue. So I don't know where that came from, but, I don't know. I remember what it used to be like being scared to qualify, and some of those guys might be in that kind of in that space, worried if they're going to make it or not.
Yeah, I wouldn't be scared about the qualifying. I'd be more worried if you got yourself on the LCQ, because I mean, I
never had to do that. Thank God.
I did, and that was some of the worst times of my life. Wondering if I went all the way down to Daytona and wasn't even going to make the main show, because that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's embarrassing.
So 2015, something like happens, you have to go to the LCQ and you have
I just got straight up beat. I think I got I honestly just got straight up beat. And I think Upperman and Wienen, I feel like Upperman or somebody were in the LCQ.
Those two. It was those two. So now you're basically left battling for 2 spots.
And then there was Upperman, Wienen. So, they're a lock. I know I passed Preston Young on the last lap to get in.
And I think,
and there might have been another.
I thought Brett was possibly in there. Sean Taylor was in there. Like there was some
guys didn't, some didn't make it, but I know
that. Yeah.
Yeah, the last lap I passed Preston Young to make it, and it was like do or die. I don't even know how. Yeah.
Crazy.
So yeah. That
Crazy.
wasn't a fun time.
stressful for sure. Well, one guy that's hoping to make it in and not have to go to the LCQ and all these things is our last incoming pro class rookie for 2023. Last year, he was 4th overall in Pro-Am. He's got one career Pro-Am podium. It's Andrew Shaddle. I know that he's got some family or some team members. I believe it's a family member playing in the game. So I'm stoked on that. And yeah, it's going to be fun to see what an addition he is to the class. Obviously, we love these numbers being high. We're going to see what he can do. You know, it's a growing experience. It's a learning experience for all these kids, for these incoming rookies. It's going to be that for everybody, but they make the class so much more fun, right? It's not predictable with these guys in there, and that makes it exponentially more fun for us ATV racing enthusiasts, and then obviously ATV fantasy players.
Oh yeah, it'll be cool seeing these new faces in the class, and who knows, some of them might shake things up a bit.
Exactly. So we went through all the riders. Now I emptied my notebook. We got pages and pages of notes here. Emptied my notebook on these guys. So let's pick our teams for Daytona, buddy. We know you're starting your team in tier 1 with Joel Hetrick, right? You got Joel Hetrick in tier 1. So you're predicting that he's going to win Daytona. What about tier 2? Who's joining Joel Hetrick on Hammy's dream team?
That's like the one tier that I haven't locked 100% locked in. I'm like waffling on that one. That one will probably change a couple of times.
So your options are Bryce Ford, Nick Janusa, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Max Lindquist, and Wesley Wolf. And somebody had wrote in to me saying that we should make it so that, you know, you got to lock your team in before qualifying. And I responded to that arguing, I think it's
what happens if they get hurt?
I think it's harder with qualifying. And the reason why I say that is because you go into Daytona per se, as we're talking about it here, you go into Daytona, assuming that, you know what's going to happen ish. And then all of a sudden qualifying happens and somebody you're not expecting to be up front is up front, and it throws everything off. So I would argue that qualifying, I don't know, for people that play the Supercross fantasy games, whether it be Pulp MX Fantasy or Rocky Mountain ATV Fantasy, it's harder if you think about qualifying. You should just not even take qualifying into consideration. So funny there. But okay, so your options are Bryce Ford, Nick Janusa, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Max Lindquist, Wesley Wolf. Who are we adding to Hammy's dream team, joining Joel Hetrick there in your fantasy team?
For now, I have Bryce Ford, but
okay. I would assume that he's going to be the pick trend.
It would be more of a lock if it was if we were a Gatorback, I would probably say that with more confidence. But since it's at Daytona,
but Bryce gets good starts.
I'm skeptical.
Bryce gets good starts. So I feel like you can't go wrong with picking him. You know, you're not going to
really go wrong with picking any of those guys, honestly.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's difficult. Okay. So we're going, Hammy's dream team so far. We have Joel Hetrick and Bryce Ford. Tier 3 now. Who's going to join them on your team there? Your tier 3 options, guys that are going to be battling 6th to 10th-ish. Logan Stanfield, Cody Ford, Zach Decker, Michael Allred, or the newest addition, the 5-time European champion, Kevin Saar.
I'm going with Kevin Saar.
Yeah, I think I'm going to too. As well. He's going to be hard to pick.
I'm jumping on the hype wagon.
Hard to pick against. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so tier 4. So far, Tammy's dream team: Joel Hetrick, Bryce Ford, Kevin Saar. Tier 4. These guys are shooting for top 10 finishes. Your options are Vince Merman, Cesar Jimenez, Marshall Smith, Zach Harris, Dane Molander, Aaron Salinas, Adam Ulrich, or Andrew Shaddle. Who are we taking in tier 4? Hammy's dream team.
I'm going to go with the rookie, Dane Molander.
Yeah, I think that I would assume that that's going to be the pick trend. I think that for me comes down to, a battle between Dane Molander and Aaron Salinas. I don't know. Okay. So that completes Hammy's team. Team. So again, Hammy's dream team: Joel Hetrick, Bryce Ford, Kevin Saar, Dane Molander. That's a great looking team there. If you want to play with us, compete against Hammy, maybe prove that you know ATV motocross better than Hammy does, you can join us in playing at atvfantasy.com. Let me quickly go over my team. So like Hammy said, it could change, but as of right now, like every year, probably, I'm picking Chad Wienen at the first race. He's a 5-time event winner. I got to do it. I can't pick against the guy. I love Joel. He's one of my favorite guests on the show. He wrote the biggest write-up of anybody, updating me on his off season. I appreciate him so much. Awesome dude. I would never cheer against him, but 5-time event winner, Chad Wienen, he's got something special for Daytona. So I'm going to start my team with Chad Wienen. I'm going to move on to tier 2. Like you said, Hammy, that's a tough one. Bryce Ford, Nick Janusa, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Max Lindquist, Wesley Wolf. I would assume I'm going to go with Bryce Ford. Hard to pick against him. Like you said, it's hard to pick against any of these guys. I could see myself picking just about any of them, to be honest with you, especially the second last year for Max is juicy to me. I look at Nick Janusa. He finished second in 2021. Jeffrey's finished on the podium here a number of times, but I think I would have to go with Bryce Ford. So as of right now, my team is going to start with Chad Wienen. We're going to add Bryce Ford. Tier 3, I'm going to go with Kevin Saar as well. Generally speaking, though.
Sounds like you're copying me.
Though hard to pick against, especially at Daytona, it's hard to pick against Michael Allred. And I say that because he gets such good starts. But I've been riding this hype train of Kevin Saar, and I gotta add.
You can't jump off now.
I gotta add Kevin Saar.
Strapped in.
You're exactly right. He's the biggest story of the offseason. I've been predicting he's going to be near the top 5. So Chad Wienen, Bryce Ford, Kevin Saar, and in tier 4, this is hard, but just in this moment, especially because you just said I'm copying you, I'm going to take Aaron Salinas, and I think it's because he's rock solid. You know, we saw him go head to head with Dane Molander all season long last year. We saw, actually, it looked like Loretta's was going to be a toss-up in Pro-Am between those two. And late in the race at Redbud, Aaron Salinas had a get-off, I believe is what it was. And then he found himself at, a 7 or 5 or 9 point deficit coming into Loretta's, and it was no longer a winner-take-all. It was shaping up that Loretta's was going to be winner-take-all between those guys. So my point being, very comparable between the two, kind of a toss-up. I'm going to go with Aaron Salinas because I think that he's going to be rock solid at Daytona, as he always is. He's always rock solid. So my team, Chad Wienen, Bryce Ford, Kevin Saar, and Aaron Salinas. If you want to join us, you can prove that you are better than both of us in Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy by signing up today at atvfantasy.com. Thomas Brown's team as well. It's going to be fun to see how people stack up against him as well. It's going to be a blast. The game, like I said earlier, has made ATV racing so much more fun. But I want to briefly touch on the pro sport class, Hammy, before we get out of here. We've ran way long. The only other ATV class at Daytona, though, is this pro sport class. So I want to at least touch on this. The riders entered so far. The way that this was proposed to me, the way it was said to me, is maybe there's an opportunity for guys to still sign up. So there's at least one name missing from this list that I think is probably going to be a factor in this race in this season. But the riders signed up so far are Lane Baird, Joseph Chambers, Cale Deal, Tom Ebden, Adam Grandin, Heath Hanna, Mason Jackson, Ian Juka, Jaden Launderville, Tyler Martin, Chris Miller, Brett Musig, Matthew Simmons, and Jacob Visnick. So there's 3 names that jump off the page to me right away. Are obviously defending champion Brett Musig. He's the odds-on favorite. We'll never bet against that dude. He gets just about every hole shot. He's rock solid. He's fast. He looks just like he did years ago. I would argue he's better today than he was at any point during his pro career. I believe that. So Brett Musig stands out to me. Obviously, Jaden Launderville stands out to me. Huge fans of him. He's going to be a future star of the sport. I truly believe that. I believe he was the first ever Digging Deep Rising Star Award winner. So we love Jaden Launderville. He's going to be one to watch for sure. Joseph Chambers as well. I mean, he was the runner-up last year in, can't remember if it was this class or Pro-Am, either Pro Sport or Pro-Am. He found himself right in between Molander and Salinas when the dust settled on that championship hunt. He's a guy that could have very easily been in the pro class. I would assume he's coming back to try to win this class before possibly going pro. And then there's one other name that jumps off the page to me, Mason Jackson. He's been so fast for so many years coming up through the ranks. I know he dealt with an injury last year. I think it was an ACL. He's going to be another rider to watch. And then I had mentioned earlier that there's one name at least missing that I would assume would be a factor. At least, you know, he was winning races last year before he got hurt. And that name is Blair Miller. Blair Miller was a guy who we saw up in the mix last season, very much in the mix before he got hurt there at kind of mid-season time. So again, Brett Music's got to come in as the favorite. I would assume we'll see Jaden Launderville on the podium, Joseph Chambers on the podium, and Mason Jackson's going to be in the mix, probably Blair Miller being there and very much in the mix. That all being said, things get crazy at Daytona. It happens every single year. Things get crazy at Daytona. And I don't know what you think, Hammy. I sent you that list earlier. What do you think about Pro Sport?
I think it's going to be a battle between Music and Launderville for sure. Brett's got awesome hole shots, great corner speed, and just from the videos I've seen of this Launderville, he's the real deal. So it'll be interesting to see them guys get off on like a more open track, but I think Daytona will be more of a hole shot battle.
Yeah. Well, that makes Brett that much more of a favorite, to be honest, because his hole shots are so on point.
Yeah, he's definitely got those things dialed in.
All right, so finishing up here with a couple predictions, Hammy. We got a couple predictions. We're going to get out of here with this. We know that you're the prediction guy. We've done this here in the past years ago, or in the early years of Digging Deep. So we had to get some predictions before we got out of here. These are always fun. So based on your fantasy team, we know that you're predicting Joel Hetrick's going to win this thing. I would assume based on your fantasy team, at least who you picked. So your podium then, I would assume at Daytona, based on your picking for your fantasy team, is Joel Hetrick, Chad Wienen, and Bryce Ford. That would be your podium at Daytona.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I'm still not set on that third
Oh, yeah.
spot.
Got it.
Got
it.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm not ready to lock that in.
Okay. Well, based on,
in,
I can't ask you who you think's going to be on the podium because that's who you chose for your team. So I assumed that was what it was going to be, but you're saying you're not too confident on it yet.
When it sounds like that, I'm not ready to stamp that because like last year's results, like anything can happen.
But how do you predict it? It's hard.
That's yeah. So yeah, I guess that would be my my prediction.
Okay, so then
I'll go with that for now.
So then we know you're picking Joel Hetrick to win this first race. And I'm betting that you're thinking for the 7th time in 9 tries, the winner of Daytona is going to win the title at season's end. You're saying Joel Hetrick gets halfway to Chad Wienen and Denton with 4 titles at the end of 2023. I'm betting that that's what you're going to say.
Yes, but I was going to ask you, Joel has yet to go back-to-back on championships. And I was going to ask you, will this be the year?
Very well could be. Very well could be.
That's the only thing, or does Chad just find another gear and not let that happen? Because the last time I thought Joel won one, I thought it was about to be 6 in a row. I sounded like LeBron in Miami.
Not 3, not 4, not 5.
Yeah, it was something like that.
It was. Yeah, I remember. Trust me, I remember.
So I know whatever I'm going to say next, Wienen's going to be like, oh, well, I got to prove
he
did
did reference that, didn't he? He referenced that in the episodes that followed. But yeah, man, I
got Joel for the championship.
Hard to pick against Joel, obviously. The dude just keeps getting better. He said that there's been improvements made to the bike, improvements to his program. Chad, though, he wants number 9 so bad. He wants number 9 so freaking bad.
I got a question for you too. This kind of was something I was thinking.
Okay.
Do you now we're talking about how great Chad and Joel are right now. Do you think Chad's speed right now is as fast as he was in like 2012, 13?
I think it's better. I think it's hands down better.
Because I know Joel's is like I don't know what Joel's peak may be now, but have we
Joel's
seen
Joel's
Wienen's
peak is now. Yeah.
Yeah. But back when Wienen was really kicking everyone's ass, there was no one really to see him up that ante.
I think
like he is now, but he's years older. So that's what I'm asking. Like, do you think he's at his peak? Has he already peaked? Because he's still going at a crazy level.
Okay, I'll give you a little inside info. So, or maybe that's not the right way to say it, but I'll give you a little info that I got directly from Chad. He said to me yesterday that those titles in the middle of that run they're not that special because nobody was pushing him. Joel Hetrick is pushing Chad Wienen to the brink. These are two of, and we talked with this with Thomas Brown, these are two of the greatest dudes ever. Arguably two of the greatest ever, right? They're as good as anybody. No matter where you stand in that debate, these are two guys that are as good as anybody in the history of our sport. Joel Hetrick, we know for an absolute fact, is the best he's ever been. That bike is better than any bike he's ever ridden. He is so dialed. And Chad Wienen, each and every year, has found a way to take a step forward. Even when he hasn't won the title, he's been better than the year before. And I would argue that, we saw some hurdles last season, some chinks in the armor that we haven't seen from Chad in the past. I would still argue, though, that Chad is the best version of himself today than he's ever been, because those titles in 12, 13, 14, 15, those titles, he didn't have to, I don't want to say he didn't have to work that hard for him, but nobody was pushing him. That's literally what he said to me yesterday.
Yeah.
But I don't think, it was that he was just at a level above everybody else, but now Joel has forced him to get better and better and better and better and better. Those two guys are better than they have ever been. I would bet my life on that. I would bet every dime I have. I would bet the farm on the fact that those two guys are the best that they've ever been. In my mind, it's not even a question.
Interesting. That's something to think about.
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it so fascinating as we talk about Daytona, because again, like the winner of that race, 6 out of 8 times has went on to win the title. Like the stats show how important this one is. Again, I get that it's half points. I get that it's not, a full blown ATV motocross national, but Chad did it in 16 and 18 and 20 and 21. Joel did it in 19 and 22. Like the winner of this race, there's no way to argue. History proves that, the next week's winner is instantly going to become the odds-on favorite to win this 2023 title. And that is fascinating and exciting to me because, again, like more times than not, 3/4 of the time, the winner next week gives us a glimpse into who's going to win the title at the end of the year. And that is, man, it makes the hair on my arm stand up. I just can't wait.
So are you saying that you think Wienen's going to win is that your prediction on the champion for this year?
I just want him to win 9 because he wants it so bad. And like, there's been this narrative for so long. Think about a decade ago, right? And maybe prior to that, but even a decade ago, everybody knew how good Chad Wienen was. He had 1 title to his name coming into 2013. He had a really good season to win that title, but nobody probably was thinking he was going to win 8. He was just going to be another guy that would win a couple of them. And now look where we are, and to just complete what a story that is, for Chad Wienen to go pro in 2005, doesn't win a title until 2012, goes on that run, wins, a number of them in a row. Now he's won 8 of the last 10.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I just want him to complete the story of, man, everybody said that Gary Denton's title I know that everybody wants to argue it's not the same. That was the GNC era. Now this is the motocross era. I understand, but as far as ATV titles go, it's tied right now. And I would love to see, because again, everybody always said it was a record that would never be matched. It would never be broken. and Chad Wienen is one away. Now, bringing this to Joel Hetrick, bring Joel Hetrick into this, and I said this last year, it's a big swing year here, because if Chad Wienen wins, he has now distanced himself to 9 titles to Joel Hetrick's 3, right? And Joel Hetrick wants desperately to match that. He said as much. He wants to get up there, and he wants to be the record breaker. He wants to tie Gary Denton and Chad Wienen, and he wants to break that. That being said, if Joel Hetrick gets it done, he's halfway there after 2023. He's at 4 already. And then I start to think, shoot, he could do it, you know? It's a big swing year. I know I said that last year, but it's either odds are, if it comes down to those 2 guys, it's either going to be at the end of the season, it's going to be 9 versus 3, or it's going to be 8 versus 4. In my mind, there's a big difference between the 2.
Oh yeah. That's when you explain like that, it's crazy to think of it. It almost like if Joel doesn't get it done this year, who's going to really touch Chad's record?
That's what I said last year. And then Joel gets it done. Right. And now again,
it's a lot of years of racing.
Everything changes in my mind when you think Joel could be halfway there. And he said that his goal is to be the one to, you know, to claim the title, which is awesome for us, because that means we got Joel Hetrick for at least a handful of years. Exactly. So that'll be fun. So yeah, you got Joel Hetrick. I'll take Chad Wienen on my side. The last time we had you on the show when we were, you know, predicting like this, I won. I won that title prediction there. What about bold predictions, pal? What about bold predictions for 2023? Do you got one? Well, you think I can give you mine?
Yeah.
Brandon Hoag's going to win a race this year. Brandon Hoag's going to win an overall. I'm confident in it. As long as this team ends up being comparable to what he dealt with last year, he was as close as you can be in an ulterior universe. He wins 2 overalls last year, because he was just a couple laps away from winning Daytona, and he was 1 corner away from winning Ironman. So in an ulterior, that's why I feel like it's the 1 that got away, the 2 that got away from him, because he came so close. In my mind, the no-brainer. I wrote my answer down to that question as soon as I put it on paper earlier today. Brandon Hoag wins an overall this year. That's my bold prediction for 2023.
That's pretty bold.
I know.
I could definitely see him winning a moto, but I don't think I don't see Chad and Joel see it hard for me to see them getting beat for the 1 and 2 spot.
Me too.
I mean, it'd have to be something mechanical maybe, or
so I think of
something dramatic. I feel like would have to happen.
Yeah. I think of Brandon so similar to Joel, to the riding styles. I just think of them so in such a similar way. Joel comes out, you know, years ago, year would have been 2011, and comes out and wins Unadilla. And it was his day all day long. And I just have this, you know, and I'm kind of banking on maybe Brandon winning the first race. You know, that would be I don't want to say the easiest way to do it, but that'd be the easiest way to see it happening at Daytona, 1 moto format, you know, harder track to pass on kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But
otherwise, maybe Brandon Hoag just comes out one day, he feels amazing, and he puts it all together, and it's just his day from the very start. And last year, we saw motos where guys like Brandon Hoag, guys like Max Lindquist, they beat Chad Wienen straight up. And they were, you know, like Brandon Hoag was getting very close to Joel Hetrick. He was keeping him honest. Specifically, I'm thinking about Briarcliff. So that's my bold prediction. What do you got? You come up with anything yet?
I honestly don't. I got two things that are in my head, but I don't know if I.
So because based on what you're saying, you're not predicting anybody else wins an overall other than Joel or Chad. Okay. So then your other bold predictions would be potentially seeing somebody podium that we've never seen
Yeah,
podium.
that's what I was going to go with. I would say maybe Molander podium, and then
What about Kevin Sarr?
maybe I'm not there yet.
Okay.
And then maybe Nick Janusa's best year.
Okay.
But I have nothing to go off of what make me say that. But I mean,
Yeah.
it could be time.
Well, if he could
You know
finish
what
third,
I mean? If he was the third best guy, it wouldn't surprise me.
if he could finish third in points, it'd be his best year because he's always been fourth or fifth, right? He's always been fourth or fifth since his rookie year. I would argue, and I've said this, the class is faster than it was back then. It is. So, I think that he's been the best version of himself in recent years, but he's going to want to get some more podiums, than he's had. And I wouldn't doubt that. I thought maybe you were going to go being, bold prediction hammy. I thought you were going to tell me like Joel Hetrick was going to win all the overalls or, something like that. But no, you're keeping it a little bit not so bold this time.
If Dake wasn't on that's too bold. That's too risky.
Or could I give you he wins every overall excluding Daytona?
No, because I was looking like that. Wienen's gonna win a few here and there.
Well, Redbud is off the schedule. Redbud's off the schedule. That doesn't help Chad.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, it's not cool. It'll be interesting to see how Chad does a Gatorback with them having a school week before.
Okay, and touching on the schedule there, Hammy. So we've obviously been talking about Daytona. That's the opener. We're talking about Gatorback. That's the second round for the pros, the amateur opener at round 2 there. And then kind of going down the rest of the list here, we got Underground is back on the schedule for Texas for round 3. That's kind of exciting. I really liked Three Palms. I really liked that racetrack. It was a little bit different because it's a little more man-made, but I actually liked that. It was just a different, kind of vibe to a race to have in the series. But we're going back to Underground, a track that we raced a number of times down there. A track I really enjoy, a track with some big hits down there at Underground. High Points round 4. That's always a stop on the tour. Ironman round 5, back for another year. I'm glad we lost Ironman for a couple seasons, so I'm so glad that we got Ironman, especially now that we don't have Redbud, which obviously stinks. But more races in the Midwest is awesome. Sunset Ridge, favorite stop on the tour, obviously, especially now that we don't have Redbud. That's round 6. That's in May there. Budds Creek is next. Budds Creek, that's going to be a really fun one, round 7, because that's that crossover with the TT on the same weekend as the motocross, all at one venue. That's going to be so much fun. TT National, ATV Motocross National, all in the same place. That's going to be the place to be. I'm hoping to make it to that one. That's going to be a lot of fun to see, a really special thing for ATV Motocross. Round 8, Pleasure Valley, another good one. That's the 4th of July weekend, as it always is up there. Back on the schedule for another season. Briarcliff is round 9. I'm really looking forward to that one. We're going to do some, I'm going to have some involvement with that one. So that one's going to be fun. We'll keep it at that. Ohio, that brings, there you go. Hammy's holding up a Briarcliff sweatshirt right now. You won Pro-Am there a number of years ago, pal. You got good memories there.
Yes, sir.
Local track.
First ever Briarcliff ATV National. Got my name up in the sign-up building.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, that was a good weekend.
I like it. And touching on Briarcliff there, I just got word yesterday. We announced it on our social platforms that Kinsey, defending WMX champion Kinsey Osborne, is back on the bike. She's going to be ready to go for the Gatorback opener for those guys. And we're going to see her in the B class this season as well. So super stoked on that. Stoked to see her back on the quad. I know that she's been, kind of working all winter long to come back from that major knee injury she had last season at Loretta's, where she, I believe, tore her ACL, but stayed on the quad, still raced, still went 1-1, and completed what was an unforgettable rookie season for her. So stoked to see what she's got in store for this 2023 season. And then obviously wrapping everything up at Loretta Lynn's in August there, round 10, finishing up at Loretta Lynn's. Wanted to touch on the schedule. I meant to do that earlier, getting it in here now though. Anything stand out to you, Hammy? Obviously, I think it's awesome. We touched on this with Thomas. I think it's awesome to have Gatorback back on the schedule. It's nostalgic for so many of us that, were fans of the sport years ago, were around it years ago in 2006 when the series last went there. I love that we're going to Gatorback. Going back to Underground is fun. Everything else is pretty standard except for Budds Creek. I think that TT crossover kind of doubleheader is not the right word, but that conjoined event there with TT and motocross at Budds Creek is going to be a lot of fun. What stands out to you?
I think first and foremost, not having Redbud. I mean, I couldn't imagine an ATV motocross season not having Redbud. That was always me and my family's favorite race of the year. Always fell on July 26th weekend, and parking's awesome. Track was fun. I'd say maybe as the years went on, maybe the track got like a decline, got worse maybe, but it was still always a good time. Really jealous that they're going to Gatorback. That track looks like some real good hard packed fun.
The Hammy style.
And then I'm jealous that they're doing like a TT. I really wish they would have done something like that when we raced, like a TT they did a TT race while we were racing at Birch Creek in 2012, but I don't know if it wasn't like points, like the points I don't know if the points this year are like adding up or
this
like
full on national event, obviously 2 separate events, right? Like people, presumably there's going to be some people that try to race both, but it's just a TT national, same weekend as the ATV motocross national at the same, facility. And like when we talked to Brad, he's going to try to hopefully race both. I mean, obviously his moneymaker is the TT races, talking about Brad Riley. So on Saturday, he'll race the TT, pro races and pro-am and the classes that he races there, and hoping on Sunday to race pro-am on the motocross side. But yeah, it's just going to be, I love the fact of, conjoining the two, because TT and TT ATV racing is alive and well, obviously, as ATV motocross is. And it's going to be really fun. It's going to be just, like I said, simply put, the place to be that weekend. And that's just a really cool thing.
Yeah. It'd be cool if they were able to do something like that more often, even at like a Pine Lake. When they do the TT, if they had a motocross track, that'd be a real good spot for a dual event.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's going to be fun. Like you said, it hurts me to not have Redbud on the schedule. Actually, for a number of weeks, it looked like we were going to have the Richies on my show to talk about not having Redbud. And it eventually fell through because they didn't see the upside necessarily in coming on my show, which is fair. That's actually the response I expected from the start. But there's a feeling out there from some people that they just, turned their head on quads, turned their backs on quads, kind of kicked us to the curb. And I can tell you, without going into tons of detail, that is not the case. Redbud was on the ATV racing schedule, ATV motocross schedule, for, Amy said, every year that the Nationals existed, except for maybe the first year. So they have been an ATV racing national track facility forever, right? And there was some stuff that went down this year, and I'm trying to figure out how deep I want to go into this, but there was some stuff involving one of their favorite employees concerning a parent of ATV motocross family, and ultimately this situation race was involved. And that's not cool. And we've all heard Amy on the radio, saying pit bikes, take care of your kids, all those things. And I understand, but those things are not the reason why ATV racing is not going to Redbud. We all know that ATV racing is not as big as the dirt bike stuff. Redbud just hosted the Motocross of Nations, the biggest event, that there is on the planet for motocross racers. So this is the world's best, arguably, motocross facility. As ATV racers, racing there was a luxury. It really was. It's the best of the best. But if some people kind of took it for granted and didn't treat them the way they deserved to be treated, and race was involved in the way that this one of their favorite employees was treated, honestly, as bad as I want to be at Redbud, I kind of understand that being the straw that broke the camel's back, because that's one of those things that's like off limits. You cannot do that, and a person shouldn't even think that way. So
yeah, that's a shame.
it's hard to digest. I've wanted to actually touch on that for the show. I wanted to do it gently, and I really wanted to have that conversation with them because I wanted to be able to tell our listeners that, hey, like, we didn't turn our backs on you, but something took place that we can't forget. And honestly, I understand. My other hope for getting her on the show is I wanted her to know that there was at least a segment, a group of people out there that freaking adored being at Redbud, that adored it being on our schedule. And I wish that we were still going there. I was hoping that my show and a conversation with her, with Amy, could help kind of lay the groundwork for maybe making a return to Redbud. And I'm not saying that that's out of the question, but she basically said it's time, after the stuff that went down, it was time to let maybe a smaller track, hopefully in the Midwest. I mean, I'd love to we raced at Taylorville, Illinois, WPSA. I loved Rossville, Indiana. Wildcat Creek was awesome.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm talking about. I loved it there.
Yeah, I love that one.
I would love another race in the Midwest because that's the biggest thing for me is being a Midwest guy, and you're the same, Hammy. That's what hurts about losing Redbud. I mean, not only do I love Redbud,
it's close. Yeah.
But I love the fact that we're going to Budds Creek and actually Ezra, the owner, wants to come on my show, and it sounds like he's all in, which is awesome. We want to go to tracks where the owners want to have us, where tracks want to have us. But we need another Midwest race. I mean, we got big numbers here, a lot of quads here in the Midwest. We need another Midwest race. So would love the fact of possibly going back to Wildcat Creek or something like that. I love that place in Indiana there, but yeah, schedule's shaping up to be cool. Wanted to at least touch on the Redbud thing there when you kind of opened the door. Wish we were going back there. I would love for it to be just a 1-year stint where we don't go there, but I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen. But yeah, man, I think we just about covered as much of this stuff as we could without these guys going racing. It's going to be really fun to see how it all plays out. Like I said, I probably didn't emphasize enough. I remember surrounding this event last year, going in and coming out of it. We see craziness at Daytona each and every year.
Oh yeah,
we really do. And I'm sure this year is going to be no different. Last year it was the mud. The year before we saw, Joel Hetrick go flipping off the racetrack after contacting with a lapper. We've seen so many things over the years, just craziness, that we're going to see something again. And like I said earlier,
hopefully the gates work all weekend.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, it's impossible to predict what craziness we're going to see, but we are going to definitely see some craziness next week. We're sitting here just 1 week away from Daytona, and I wish we didn't have to wait a week.
Right. No doubt about that. I'll definitely be keeping tabs on that whole day on who's qualifying and who's up front, who's looking fast. And
yeah,
they'll have that live, right? I'm sure we'll be able to watch live.
I would assume so, like years past. And one thing I do want to touch on before we get out of here is that cutoff time for ATV Fantasy. So generally speaking, in years past, we've the cutoff has been an hour after the last qualifier, which then would be an hour before the first moto. So we're going to do that same cutoff time. I think for the races going forward, teams will lock an hour after qualifying is over, which generally speaking is an hour before that first moto. That being said, Daytona is a little different. So we'll probably, whatever time we're going to have the first motos, we'll lock our picks a half hour before that first moto. Okay. For the guys, we want people to have enough time after qualifying to kind of digest, see what they're going to do. And yeah, so we'll announce all that. If you follow along on social media, we'll announce it. There's a chat in the game. We'll make sure everybody is aware of that as well. But yes, we will lock those picks half hour before the gate drops on that first moto, and then we'll see how it all plays out. Again, anybody that isn't signed up yet, signups have been flying in the last couple days here as we get just within a week of Daytona. You can sign up today at atvfantasy.com. Again, you can prove that ATV motocross better than the rest of us. You can compete for some awesome prizes and some bragging rights. We give away a plaque at the end of the year, a champion plaque. I saw some of the champions already from years past already talking a little smack max, so that's fun. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said earlier, it makes the series, the following along so much more fun. It enhances the ATV motocross experience as a fan for sure. But man, I just can't wait to see what's going to happen this season. Can't wait to see what's going to happen at Daytona, specifically because, like we've said a few times, Daytona gives us a really good look into what we can expect from the season kind of coming ahead. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a blast. I'm glad I was able to do this with you. I love talking ATV moto, and like you said earlier, the more you know, the more you care. I think you nailed it on the head. So
for sure, it's like anything, right? It's like anything.
I think what you're doing for the fantasy, yeah, following all these different riders is just better for the sport, better for all these riders getting more recognition,
and you care more.
Some we wish that we would have when we race. So it's cool.
Yeah, you simply care more. The more you know. If you know Brandon Hoag's riding for a new team, that's going to be fun to watch. Kevin Saar's coming over from Europe. How's he going to do? Bryce Ford is totally different spot than he was a year ago at this time. All these things. The more you know about the backstory, the more you care about the racing, and that's kind of the void that we're trying to fill here. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. But pal, with that's going to do it for our preview prior to Daytona and to kick off the 2023 season. Hammy, this has been so much fun. It's been a long time since we chopped it up like this. We're talking about racing all the time via text, but for a couple hours here to sit and talk about ATV motocross racing, looking ahead to the exciting season ahead, man, this has been so much fun. This is something we're gonna have to do more of this season.
Oh, definitely. You let me know and I'll come on and we'll talk some ATV moto. Like I said, I can go all day talking about old times and past racing. So I need to get more up to speed with what's going on in the now. But like I said, I think about motocross every day, and it's just a part of me. So it's cool to come on here and talk with you, and hopefully get to do it again.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. We'll definitely do it again. It brings back a lot of great memories from back in the day, for sure. But you're the man, pal. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for taking all this time with us, and we'll plan to do it again soon. Okay.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. That's Tyler Hamrick, brought to you by Factory 43. And I'm your host, Cody Jansen, signing off on the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. Time to go racing inside the hallowed grounds of Daytona International Speedway. Thanks so much, pal. We'll see you soon. Let's go racing. Major thanks to tonight's featured guests, Thomas Brown and Tyler Hamrick. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother, for all his hard work. Thanks to Brooke and AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to all of our donors. You know who you are. We appreciate you so much. Thanks to all of our partners. CST Tires. Go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Lauderdale Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, the financial advice of the Haymauer Financial Group, DP Brakes, Factory 43, Binky's Forever ATC Museum, a special shout out to Impact Solutions, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. You can find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner for all your gear and parts needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. As you've been hearing all episode long, sign up for ATV Fantasy today at atvfantasy.com, and you can head over to shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com, where you'll find our all new alternative logo shirts and hoodies just in time for the new season. They've been flying off the shelves. They're awesome. I'm wearing one right now, so check that out. If you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee buttons. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to support our efforts. You can leave us a voicemail and we'll play it on the show, 920-569-3519. That's 920-569-3519. Follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content, coverage, and more fun stuff, as we are just days away from the start of the brand new 2023 ATV Motocross National Season. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. Be a friend, tell a friend, please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Thomas Brown, Tyler Hamrick, Brooke Jansen, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to and making us the most listened to podcast in ATV racing, with 203,000 downloads last month in 101 total countries. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross. We'll see you next week for our post-race coverage of the 2023 9th Annual Daytona ATV Supercross. See you then. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad dudes are freaking gnarly.